It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, and as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news,
Will, please bring us up to date.
or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons,
Very, very curious.
we bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking,
This is the nightmare for the Conservatives again.
down to earth,
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
and most importantly, honest,
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either. This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Good morning. The missed chances to stop the Nottingham killer exposed in a shocking report.
NHS and police failings led to a trail of destruction that ended with Valdo Calocane killing Barnaby Webber, Grace O'Malley Kumar and Ian Coates.
Now, what's going to happen today is the victims' families will call for a public inquiry.
The cracks in the Lucy Letby case become gaping holes as world-leading experts cast their doubts.
We did not find any murders. In all cases, death or injury were due to natural causes or just bad medical care.
Sweden in mourning. A school campus shooter leaves at least 10 people dead in the nation's worst mass killing.
Utan jacka. Alltså jag går ner till henne nu. Oh my god, det var skjutning. Folk gråter. Oh my god, det är skjutning! Oh my god!
The Prime Minister is accused of giving in to Mauritius to push the Chagos Islands deal through. That's despite President Trump's reservations.
We'll take over the Gaza Strip and we will do a job with it too. We'll own it.
That's Donald Trump's Gaza takeover as the president shocks onlookers as he announces an ambitious plan to forever change the Middle East.
Watch out for scammers. Turns out most tech-owning teens have been targeted by scam messages. Is it time to set an age limit on owning a phone?
Hey, all of you, my name's Catherine, and I'm going to come on your school trip today.
And the Princess of Wales delights school children as she joins them on a very special tour.
And in sport this morning, Arsenal will try to overturn a 2-goal deficit at Newcastle in the Carabao Cup semi-final second leg tonight. There have been 13 VAR errors in the Premier League, only 13 this season so far. And in tennis, one double Grand Slam winner retires as our one-off Grand Slam winner, guess who that is, loses again.
At long last, I bring news of sunny skies for virtually all of us during the next few days. Find out the latest in the forecast coming up.
Hello there, very good morning to you on this Wednesday morning. I'm Eamonn Holmes.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Now, I don't know about you guys, but when it comes to holidays now, I think the world's become a much smaller place. You think of wildfires in Greece and Portugal, and LA, and then earthquakes in the Greek islands.
Earthquakes in Santorini at the moment.
Yeah, so
shocking.
Santorini, there is an evacuation going on there. You'll see from these pictures here. And people are getting on boats, are getting on planes to head to Athens as the famous Greek tourist island suffers from increased seismic activity. So my point is, Paul, of all the things we're worrying about here, have you ever been involved in an earthquake?
I don't think I ever have. Actually, I tell a lie.
Yeah.
When I was on the radio in Peterborough years ago, and I was about 21, 22, there was an earth tremor.
Yeah.
And it was the biggest news that we'd ever had in the city. So the front page, I remember it now, the Evening Telegraph said Quake Rocks City. And the true thing is that I was on the air and they'd announced it, and the news were going, oh, look, and there's been this earthquake and it's happened, and they're trying to, obviously it's the biggest story that happened in the city for years. Anyway, and then things started to rumble, and then the guy who was reading the news said, it's happened again. Just to let you all know, at 8:02, it's happened again, and it turned out there were 3 men that were working on the roof fitting a new aerial, and the whole thing is going, and it's happened again, and we've had another one. But that was the closest I ever got to an earth tremor was in the middle of the night.
Santorini, which we were seeing there, and there's some good pictures on Instagram today, of a lot of steam coming out of the side of mountains. And Santorini is actually built upon a volcano.
Yeah, that's how it's formed.
Yeah, well, the thing is, the volcano hasn't erupted now in a good few years, I think about 150 years or so. But what you're seeing now, that's gases that are being forced out from underground, and people are thinking, well, do we stay or do we go?
I would be on the thing is, around Santorini as well, you'd have all the cruise liners. They all line up around the outside, so they stop off, loads will get off, fill the streets, and then they go again. I mean, they're not going to be stopping there,
are they? It's such a popular tourist destination.
Huge.
But the volcano is a sea-bearing volcano. That's what it is.
That's how it's formed.
So it's not you're going to be better off being in the water and looking at the island.
You want to be on the mainland, you want to be in Athens.
So this is it's going to get worse than this? They know?
It's expected to last for days and weeks. And this seismic activity that they're talking about is every few minutes. So the most intense one so far was a tremor with a magnitude of 4.9. That was yesterday morning, about 3 o'clock in the morning. But since then, it's every few minutes. And everyone will know Santorini because it's so famous, isn't it? Those white buildings, the blue dome.
I'll not be going there for my summer holidays.
Well, don't go this week. But
No.
the schools are shut, businesses are shut. 3,000 people have left the island already. Very small island, as you know. So.
But we are open for business, and we're with you until 9:30 this morning. Mr. Paul will be here in 20 minutes with last night's sporting action.
Now to our top story this morning. An independent review has revealed that triple killer Valdo Calocane's fear of needles prevented him from taking his antipsychotic medication.
Now, this report also highlighted how the risk to mental health carers was managed by making arrangements for staff to not visit Calocane's home alone. But a plan wasn't made if he came off medication.
Well, that says the families of the 3 victims, Barnaby Webber, Grace O'Malley Kumar and Ian Coates prepare to hold a press conference today where they will demand a public inquiry.
So is it time to ask why Calocane slipped through the net? With us now, former Conservative Special Advisor Lauren McKevitt. Lauren, you think you've heard everything there is to hear in these cases, and then we look at the background here, and society or the institutions just seem to be able to cope with a man like this, who's bipolar and schizophrenic.
What I find interesting about this story is this is the same story that we were talking about 3 weeks ago with relation to Axel Rudikibana, the killer from last year. The system that exists in this country to deal with mental health and the potential for violence for people within the mental health system and the system for dealing with police and crime and justice are not talking to each other well enough. The mental health system is basically waiting until the point at which there has been a crime to put people on indefinite hold, because it is not for the police to start holding mental health victims basically in advance of a crime. That's a system that no one really wants to get into. Over the course of the last 60 years in the United Kingdom, we have consistently moved away from the concept of basically long-term inpatient care in advance of a crime being committed by someone with significant mental health difficulties. And it would appear that there is a shift change in attitude in this country as to whether or not that should continue to be the case. Now, what I think is not a mistake, but perhaps a misstep on the part of the government. This call for an inquiry today, there's going to be about 17 inquiries running at the same time. They're all going to be looking at the same thing, which is that there is a fundamental state breakdown in how the organs of the state work with each other to deal with people like this who need, A, from their own devices to be protected, and B, for the purposes of protecting others, they need to be protected from and by the state.
What would you be proposing?
A widespread investigation across England, which is the area that we're talking about within the mental health system, of how health, police and justice work together and how much money is required, which facilities need to be built in order to better house people with mental health difficulties that are severe enough that people cannot go in and deal with their patients, one-on-one. It should not be an option that you are willing to just not take your medication or be trusted to take your medication.
Or you're scared of needles.
Exactly. If that is the case, I'm sorry, but you are basically saying that you cannot be a safe member of society, that you have to be within medical care much more regularly than being able to live independently. And I think that there is a conversation to be had in this country about changing how we deal with independent living in the mental health system.
But you know, Lauren, I despair because I just know they will not spend the money. They won't have the money and they'll not spend the money, and therefore there'll be an inquiry, isn't there always an inquiry? Nothing will change.
So they're going to send £18 billion to the Chagos, or to Mauritius for the Chagos Islands over the course of the next however many years it is. That's the same budget as the Justice Department budget for England and Wales. So, yeah, there's going to be a conversation about where that money's going and why it's being spent in the way
Well, you know, that is a conversation we're going to be having later in the programme. Give us your thoughts on that. I mean, how badly do we need the Chagos Islands? What sort of betrayal is it if we are to get rid of them? What's your take?
The Chagos Islands geographically are remarkably important for both the United Kingdom and for European partners who rely upon the security of the United Kingdom and the United States in particular. The United States is building an enormous embassy compound in Lebanon, but that's not a military base. That's not going to be able to take the place of this particular outfit. Further to the west, previously, Eritrea had the United States' biggest listening post for years. That sort of meridian there is incredibly important for proximity and for the ability, basically, to listen to our enemies. Our enemies are, predominantly in the east, and we need to be able to deal with them effectively. Losing Diego Garcia is really, really bad for being able to do that. We paid Mauritius for the Chagos Islands, paid them £3 billion. They put that money in an account, didn't do anything with it, and interest completely ate it away, and the money just went. It was not spent on resettling the Chagosians, who ended up in the United Kingdom being resettled by us. We're now proposing to pay Mauritius again for something we already own, to take it off our hands for a lease that is now non-renewable. This is just one of the world's worst deals. And Keir Starmer has made this deal in order to satisfy his human rights barrister chums that he has to stand up and face at dinner parties in Islington.
To tell us about those human rights, what exactly happened to the people who were living on the Chagos Islands? How many were allowed to stay, and what happened to those who were sent elsewhere?
The Chagos Islands were depopulated. The Chagosians were treated incredibly badly when they got to Mauritius, and they ended up being resettled in the United Kingdom, principally in Crawley. This is a group of people who have been ignored substantially by both the United Kingdom and Mauritius in these negotiations. These people are against this deal, and neither party, the United Kingdom and Whitehall or Mauritius, are talking about what the people from these islands actually want. And the distance from Mauritius to these islands would be the equivalent of us saying that Wales should take back Donetsk in Ukraine on the grounds that it was set up by a Welshman at one point.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the money, I mean, you quoted the money involved there, because we just have to get this through to people, and we'll be talking to a government spokesman on this later this morning. But how much money, over how long are we talking about?
The rumour is that it's gone from 9 billion after Mauritius rejected the deal to 18 billion. My understanding is that would be paid out over a course of several years. I think it's a period of 10 to 15 years, but I'm not sure.
We haven't
and this is for a 99-year lease, the same system that they had in Hong Kong, and for a non-renewable lease now.
Yeah. All right, Lauren, we're out of time with you, but you're back with us in the 7 o'clock with chat.
Thanks, Lauren. Thank you for the moment. So all that Lauren had to say there, what's your view? What's your take on this? What do you think we should do about these islands? And would you double your money and pay £18 billion for a lease on it? So this morning we run our poll again, and we are asking,
should Keir Starmer U-turn on his surrender of the Chagos Islands? You can get involved by scanning the QR code on your screen now, or you can go to gbnews.com/poll. As always, the final result will be announced later in Martin Daubney's show.
OK, and we'll return to that later in the programme. We'll tell you how that vote is going. To Sweden now, and authorities there estimate 10 people have been killed after that shooting yesterday. It was at an adult education centre 200 kilometres from Stockholm. The country's Prime Minister has described it as the worst mass shooting in the country's history, as they begin piecing together what exactly happened.
Well, for our correspondent at TV4 News in Sweden, Lisa Grenfors joins us now. And Lisa, what a shocking event that took place yesterday. Have we got any more detail about what exactly happened?
Well, the details are still scarce, but this is a very shocking moment for not only the people of Örebro, but for all of Sweden. When it comes to the details, it's actually 11 dead in the shooting, and it might be more dead people because they haven't confirmed the number of injuries yet. The latest from the police this morning is the fact that they are urging the public not to spread rumours about what happened in that school yesterday, because there seems to be no ideological motives behind the attack, according to the police this morning.
What do we know about the location where this shooting took place? It was an adult education centre. Who would have been there? What kind of people would have been there at this time of the day?
Well, since it's an adult education centre, there were people, above 18, but also in Sweden you can take caring courses, for example, if you want to work in a caring home for the elderly. So there would be people like 30, 35, people with immigrant background, which I think is the reason why these rumors are spread about ideological motives behind the attack that the police has denied. So a lot of people, the buildings are on a campus with, I think there is room for 2,000.
But the thing is, Lisa, we're not getting any closer as to who, what, where, when and why for all of this. But the thing that surprised me after hearing about the story yesterday is I learned that Sweden is the gun-killing centre of Europe. I mean, your gun crime is really bad.
Yes, and it has been in recent years. Actually, well, you have this maybe Astrid Lindgren picture of Sweden being a very calm country with no violence at all. But as you just said, that's not a fact anymore. Sweden stands out in Europe in that sense, that there has been a lot of problems with killings, with guns, and mostly with a gang motive in the background. So narcotics and severe crime in the background. But it seems from the information from the police, what had happened yesterday, that that is not the background in this particular case. But it comes in an environment, the actual shooting took place in an environment where people are very, very upset about the violence that takes place. Not only in Stockholm, which has been the place in the last weeks, but actually all over Sweden in different places.
And how are people in Sweden reacting to this news? I mean, it is the country's worst mass shooting.
It's sorrow, it's shock when it happened, and it was clear that that many people were killed. You could even feel in the newsroom where I was at the moment when it happened that there was a sense of shock even amongst the journalists. And when I spoke to people in my neighborhood here where I live, they said that even with the background that Sweden does have a problem with severe crime and shootings, it was unbelievable, especially when the number of dead people came from the police yesterday evening.
Lisa, really appreciate your take on things. Lisa Grenfors there from TV4 news station in Sweden. Thank you very much indeed.
It is shocking, isn't it? Apparently the damage on campus was so bad that's why it's taken so long for the police to even establish how many people were killed. Yeah. And the fact that gun crime is so bad in Sweden, worst in Europe. Yeah. And the Princess of Wales is back in business. She joined primary school pupils on a trip to the National Portrait Gallery as part of a move to encourage society to prioritise the needs of young children. Well, our royal correspondent Cameron Walker has more.
Nice to meet all of you. My name's Catherine, and I'm going to come on your school trip today.
I spy a princess, Catherine, entertaining primary school children on a minibus on their way to the National Portrait Gallery for a new interactive trail exploring their emotions through paintings. Head teacher Alex Askerth was also on the minibus, specially provided and paid for by Kensington Palace.
It was an experience that we won't probably ever have again. She was wonderful. She was so relaxed with the children, really chatty. The children were so engaged with her. They were playing I Spy at one point. She was helping with jumpers. It was wonderful. It was just like going on a school trip with extra people. It was very special.
13 reception children from All Souls Church of England Primary School in London were taken on the magical Bowbeam Tree Trail, which is inspired by Catherine's early years work. On Sunday, her Centre for Early Childhood launched the new Shaping Us framework, aimed at increasing awareness of Britain's social and emotional skills. The Princess wrote the foreword for a report marking the launch of the framework, describing how modern life was leaving many people feeling isolated and vulnerable. Researchers found the first 5 years of a child's life is crucial to improving their life chances, making addiction or poor mental health less likely. The Princess helped look after the children as they were guided around the trail, the first project associated with her initiative to persuade society to prioritise early childhood development. The children were encouraged to look at portraits and identify their emotions through their facial expressions. They then created their own self-portraits. Christian Guy, who heads up Catherine's Centre for Early Childhood, is understood to have worked with Catherine privately on her new initiative, hinting it's the first of many.
She's an absolute driving force for this. She got the whole thing going in 2023 and was the driving force behind the framework. And it's terrific to have her here today, leading the charge on social and emotional development here and around the UK. And we've got some exciting things to come.
The Princess, who's patron of the National Portrait Gallery, met museum bosses from across the UK who are launching their own projects inspired by the framework. She told them how important it was to make the initiative available to children across the country, both in schools and communities. The free trail at the National Portrait Gallery in central London runs for 6 weeks for families and schools. Cameron Walker, GB News.
Well, there's nothing like looking at a good painting, you know, and to absorb some.
I thought you were going to say that nothing as good as looking at the Princess of Wales. She is amazing.
She is amazing, but
yeah, looking at paintings is
but it's lovely going to art galleries and then just seeing stuff that is different. I mean, you know, we talked recently about me going to see the Mona Lisa.
Yes.
And, you know, and you just spend some time and you look at it and you see it differently and then you hear the stories behind it. And
well, do you like art?
I do.
I'm not great with art. I don't
Oh,
really
no,
get
I am.
it.
I'm very big into Irish artists.
Are you?
Yeah. And, you know, I would collect a lot of it, yeah.
I feel like you're right, though. Once I've got the story behind it, I'm better with history than I am with art. I'm often like, don't get it.
Trouble about art is that when you buy something and you think, I really like that, and then a few years later you think, I'm fed up with that.
Yeah, that's so true.
It's trading it back in. You buy it at one price and you sell it at a greatly reduced price.
No, but you can make money on your art.
I haven't done that
got
yet.
a fabulous portrait, haven't you?
I haven't done that.
He has. He's got this fabulous portrait by an Irish artist.
Yes.
That'll be worth a few bob.
It definitely is worth a few bob, yes, definitely.
You can give it to me. Now I can sell it for millions.
Aidan McGivern, let's see how he's painting the weather picture for you today.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, a very good morning to you. Welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. There will be some showers in the north today, but actually fine elsewhere and increasingly sunny skies for all of us during the next few days. We're starting off with bright blue skies across much of England and Wales, just some patchy cloud here and there. Bright as well in the north, but we do have some showers for northern England as well as parts of Scotland, especially towards the west and north of Scotland, along with a brisk breeze. Those showers will be falling as snow over the mountains, but they do ease later. And in between the showers, there will be some sunny spells. Temperatures of 6 or 7 in the north, 9 or 10 further south. Just some fair weather cloud building through the day. Otherwise, a beautiful end to the day for many of us. One of those crisp but bright winter's days, and more of them to come over the next couple of days. Plenty of sunshine, or at least clear skies, for eastern and southern Scotland as we go into the evening. Some patchy cloud there and a few more showers to go for the Highlands, but otherwise they are tending to fade away. Clear skies for Northern Ireland and extensively across England and Wales, and of course with light winds and clear skies overnight. Temperatures will fall away quickly, a widespread frost forming up and down the country, although I think the northern half of Scotland tending to stay too breezy for a widespread frost. Nevertheless, it's dry and it's clear for the vast majority, so temperatures dipping to -1 Celsius in towns and cities and a few degrees below that in sheltered parts. A cold start to the day on Thursday then, but plenty of sunshine first thing. A few freezing fog patches here and there. They may persist into the afternoon, but they'll be very localised. For the vast majority, it's simply a sunny day. It's going to continue to feel cold, but with light winds in the sunshine, pleasant enough. Temperatures reaching 7 or 8 Celsius. Continuing to be breezy in the far north, but dry and bright nevertheless.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
Lisa, you got in touch with me and you flagged this survey because you were concerned as a parent that your child had been given this to fill out.
Yeah, I mean, my daughter came home from school, she was very confused. She was asking why somebody would want to hurt themselves if they were feeling sad or worried about something. So that led to a conversation that we had, and I actually phoned the school and asked them to send me the survey, which with a lot of pushing, they eventually did send me the survey. And when I read through it, I was just completely shocked at the content. The survey says when I'm feeling worried that maybe I should try cutting or harming myself, because it's in the survey, so that must be an option. I've tried everything else, so why not try this?
It is astonishing that some of these are young children who are perhaps being introduced to these, these abuses for the first time.
Yeah, I mean, there's a list of 17 different types of drugs, some of which I've actually never heard of myself. I mean, the wording on here is, have you ever got high from taking drugs? I mean...
And we know that some of these behaviours, self-harm, gender dysphoria, taking drugs, are psychologically contagious. Children do them because they see other children do them, or they find out about them from the internet or from surveys like this. So the idea that this is just information gathering and won't go any further than that is ridiculous. There was a similar survey in Scotland, I think, about 3 years ago, where children the same age, 11, 12, 13, were asked about their sex lives. How many times have you had sex in the last year? How did you have sex? Did you use contraception? Totally normalising underage sex. So the idea that children are just mini adults and we can confront them with all the same kind of ideas and dilemmas that adults have to face is just ridiculous.
GB News, the People's Channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is the nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
So you think skinny legs are good? See, we were sitting talking here about people good-looking without naming them.
Gerber we're talking about.
But I was saying...
Crawford's daughter.
Well, a real turn-off, I think, for a lot of men is women really skinny legs, looks as if they would break.
No, I think it looks amazing. She looks amazing.
It's just me, just me.
It's dividing opinion here this morning. Coity, your thoughts?
Yeah, it's my bow legs.
I think they look great, bow legs.
Do you think so?
Do you remember the bow legs Malcolm McDonald used to have?
Oh, he probably had the most famous football bow legs
you
there
could
were.
put the ball right between his legs, couldn't you?
As my wife would say, you couldn't stop a pig in an alley. I never quite understood what that meant.
Well, it meant that if it ran at you, it would just go straight
through. Yeah, I guess so. See, the thing is, I think if my bow legs were straightened out, I'd probably be about 6'3".
Yes,
I think so maybe if there's an operation. See, Malcolm McDonald, we mentioned Malcolm McDonald.
Yeah.
I was in contact with Malcolm McDonald yesterday and I was trying to get him on the show because the Carabao Cup second leg, semi-final, Newcastle versus Arsenal.
He
I'm thinking,
for both of them.
Of course he did, and he was super mac at Newcastle, and then he came down to Arsenal, successful there. Couldn't stop a pig in an alley, of course, but a fantastic striker. But a little under the weather, Malcolm, at the moment, so we wish him well. So get well soon, Malcolm McDonald.
Get well soon.
But hopefully you'll be enjoying the game.
What about the match? It's an 8 o'clock kick-off tonight.
Yeah, 8 o'clock kick-off. You know what? I think Newcastle fans are a little nervous about this. There's that 2-0. You would think a cushion to go back to St James's Park. 2-0 up. After beating Arsenal at the Emirates, you think, well, it would be good. But I think Newcastle are a little nervous about this. And Arsenal fans, I think, you know, if you get an early goal, who knows? Because this is the semi-final, and this one would go to extra time. Whereas what they've been doing is there's no extra time, go straight to penalties. This one, should they get that far, will go to extra time. Now, Mikel Arteta, Captain Black, has been speaking, talking about the transfer window, and Captain Black a little disappointed that he didn't get a new striker. This is what he had to say.
We had a clear intention, which is always there is a window open to explore the opportunities to improve our squad with players that can impact it. We haven't achieved it, so yeah, we are disappointed in that sense, but as well we are very aware that that we only want to bring certain kind of players, and we have to be very disciplined with that as well, and I think that we were.
I think he's saying that. It was interesting to hear him say that. Everything's very we, yes, disappointed. That's almost saying, I don't have a choice in this.
Yeah.
Someone else is buying these players.
I'm sure he's absolutely right.
Yeah.
They'll look at the investment or what they're forking out there. But it is a bit of a waste of time, the winter transfer window.
Yeah, it is a strange one. It's not like it used to be where you get really big names. But anyway, look, the Carabao Cup then, so the old League Cup began. When did the League Cup begin, do you think? What year do you reckon the League Cup began?
Oh, well, wait a minute, hold on. It was going in the 60s. So it was going, I would say, early 60s, about 62, 61.
61 is correct.
Right, on the money.
Very good.
Yeah.
Good.
Do you want to go for another one? Do you want to go for a bonus question?
OK. Who won it in 61?
Aston Villa.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Well done.
Aston Villa.
Yeah.
Who has won it the most times?
Man, you've done very well in it.
Liverpool, have they done well?
Yes.
Yay!
Yeah.
10 times.
Yeah.
Liverpool most finals, 14. The person that scored the most goals in 1 year of the League Cup is our friend Clive Allen. Scored 12 goals in 1987, and Spurs only got to the semi-final that year. So well done, Clive. And I'm going to do some more. Do you remember, I know I've done this before, but all the different sponsors there's been of the League Cup. So, of course, it's the Carabao Cup now.
Yeah.
So can you name any other sponsors? There's been quite a few.
It was Coca-Cola one.
Coca-Cola was 92 to 98. Good.
Rumbelows,
1990 to 92.
Milk Cup, so the Milk Marketing Board.
81 to 86, that was the first one.
The Capital One Cup.
Good.
That's where Spurs were.
Yes, 2012 to 2016 when they were in the final. Very good.
We mentioned Rumbelows.
Rumbelows is there.
He's got Rumbelows.
Littlewoods.
Oh, yeah, Littlewoods, yes.
Worthington.
No, what is
the Worthington's Cup, the Worthington beer. Yeah. And then it was the Carling Cup.
Oh, yeah.
After that, Capital One, EFL, and now Carabao Cup.
Oh.
Very good work by you.
There you go.
Very good, very good. Now, VAR.
Yes.
One of our favourite subjects.
Yeah.
They've announced that there were... See, is this good? 13 VAR errors. Is that bad because it should be zero? So there should be no errors whatsoever. Yeah. So they said that there's 13. This is the KMI, which is the Key Match Incidents Panel. 4 incorrect VAR interventions that there's been, and 9 missed interventions. 66 of 70 were correct, and they're bringing in this semi-automated or automatic system is still yet to come in. They're saying that the VAR has been very successful, but this will take about 30 seconds off the decision and make it much quicker.
So this would be like artificial intelligence?
Yeah. There's cameras still at all these stadiums that are all been fitted during the summer that haven't been used yet. Why they don't just do it? I mean, apparently it's 100% accurate, so just get the thing going. Mm-hmm. So they're saying they're going to do that soon. I've got a little bit of tennis for you as well. Yep. Your friend Emma Raducanu. Lost in the first round of the Abu Dhabi Open.
Quelle surprise.
There you go. She's had 9... I've got all these... It's like 9 different coaches she's had. She's now looking for
Ellie was telling me about the tournament she's going to win. And
she will.
She said, yes, she's going to win.
She will. How old is she? 21?
Well, the Upminster Open, I think she's probably in for the chance.
No, I don't mean. She's got a long career ahead of her. She's only young.
And no trophies.
She's already won the US Open.
She's already
won a huge trophy.
Look, we've explained that 10,000 times. You could have won the US Open that year.
You're writing her off too soon. You're being nasty.
I'm not being nasty. Sorry, I'm being factual.
She's got talent.
I'll tell you, she will not win a major tournament ever again. I've said it. That's the way it's going to be.
He's getting upset with you about this.
I know, because it's just silly. I mean, she does...
You've got to have hope,
she does yesterday. I said it was a rubbish picture the Princess of Wales had yesterday. Oh, that's really nice. It's not really nice. Why can't you, just because it's her, you think everybody says, oh, it's lovely. It's not lovely.
She can do no wrong in my eyes.
This is the picture.
Obviously.
Now, listen.
Could I do no wrong in your eyes?
Well,
you can also do no wrong in my eyes, exactly.
Well, I think you're on the way to doing wrong.
I don't like how the camera stays on Paul Coyte when we were talking about me there, but anyway, that bit's been...
I think the camera stayed on me because it expected this sort of...
Now, children.
Look, that's what it was. That's why it was there. That's what it was expecting. Right, finally, one more thing. Tommy Paul. Now, is this the shot of the year in tennis? Let me explain it to you. Tommy Paul from the USA played in the Dallas Open. Before we see it, it was inch perfect. It was a no-look forehand, which I know was your favourite shot there, Eamonn. Over his shoulder, landed on the baseline. He said it was cool. I was just going for a tweener. And then I saw it right there and I whacked it, I guess. Let's have a look at it. Have a look at this shot. Tommy Paul at the bottom of the shot, and he is about to... You'll know the shot when you see it. No, not yet. Here we go.
Wow.
How about that?
How about it?
Backhander.
Let's look at it again. No look. Landed inside the baseline. Here it comes. Look, he's just over there. Can't even see.
He'll have a go.
Have a go at that.
That's really cool.
And scores.
Quite frankly, lucky, I think, is the actual... it's all very well saying all this inch perfect, but I think lucky is the word.
Very
Tommy,
nice.
sorry about that.
Lucky Paul with the sport this morning. Thank you very much indeed. The Great British Giveaway, you get 2 chances to have a go. Prizes are good. Here it is.
The Great British Giveaway is officially 1 year old, and we have a birthday treat for you. We're giving you not 1, but 2 chances to win this month, with 2 prize bundles that include an incredible £10,000 in tax-free cash. But that's not all. You'll also get a brand new iPhone 16 and a £500 shopping voucher to spend at your favourite store. So why not be extra lucky this month? For a chance to win an iPhone, vouchers and £10,000 in cash, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB11 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 7th of March. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In Perth and Kinross, the A989 remains closed each way along Tay Street in Perth because of flooding. On the M6 in Lancashire, there's a lane closed northbound after an accident between junctions 32 and 33 south of Lancaster. On the M62 in West Yorkshire, there's a lane closed westbound after an accident between junctions 23 and 22 from Huddersfield to Richwood Moor. Trains aren't running between Garswood and St Helens Central because of a fallen tree on the line. It's caused overhead line problems, and train services are suspended between Liverpool Line Street and Crewe because of a faulty rail. In Cheshire, the A51 is closed along Nantwich Road at Tilston Fernal because of a fire. In London, the A10 is closed northbound off the North Circular at Edmonton after an accident. And on the M26 in Kent, it's taking around a quarter of an hour in westbound queues approaching the M25 because of roadworks. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Lately, it's getting much better. The people getting more educated in terms of overall well-being of the skin health rather than temporary aesthetic treatments. Because most of the treatments in aesthetic, it doesn't change the texture of the skin. It just gives like volumetric result or remove the wrinkles temporarily.
So what are the most popular treatments that people are after?
According to a statistic report, first is anti-wrinkle, then dermal filler, then energy-based device. Yeah. But lately, biostimulators also became very popular. And
what do you mean by biostimulators?
Biostimulator, any substance that can change the texture of the skin, or like it will lead to postpone the aging process, or proliferate more collagen, increase the elasticity of the skin, such as polynucleotide or exosome, or different vitamins and minerals in the form of mesotherapy considered as a biostimulator.
Turkey's a particularly popular destination because the costs are so much lower. There have also been a lot of horror stories about what can happen when things go wrong, even people dying from post-surgery complications. What would you advise people?
Choose as a practitioner or surgeon very carefully and never prioritize price over quality. This is your face after all, your body after all. And mistakes can be reversible. It can be irreversible, and sometimes it's not like a booking restaurant or hotel. It's a sensitive matter that can affect their confidence and skin and body for life.
Yeah.
So they need to choose very wisely. They need to search what kind of methodology that particular surgeon, they perform the treatments. Are they using any safety tools?
GB News, the People's Channel.
We're really delighted to welcome Claire Muldoon and Lewis Oakley into the studio today, and they're going to pick out some stories in the papers today. And Lewis, one caught my eye, which I thought would be good, bearing in mind the time of the day it is. And scientific research says that we as humans are more likely to feel nicer and better in the morning than any other time of the day.
Yeah, so there's peak happiness time right now. So this is research. They've basically been looking into the patterns of how happiness fluctuates throughout the day, and they found there really is something to the science of things feel better in the morning. So if you've got problems, I think sleep on it, and then when you wake up in the morning, you're going to feel a lot better. Because I think a lot of people do avoid their problems a little bit too much, but actually once you've gone to bed and your brain has kind of filed the things away that you don't need to worry about, you're waking up a lot more happy, a lot more upbeat. It's a fresh day.
Claire, I can safely say never in my life have I ever felt that waking up in the morning first thing is, I feel brilliant. I don't think I've ever felt brilliant waking up in the morning.
Well, there's two schools of thought. Either you've not had enough sleep, or you're a bad sleeper, or you do have serious issues going on in your life. But the old adage, never go to sleep on an argument, I think is a really good one. You need to sort the rubbish out, and then you can process it and then wake up. I'm more interested in how they got the research for that. Did they poll people on the days, in the mornings, during the evenings? Because this report would suggest as well that things get more turbulent at night time.
Yeah. Well, they're not just talking night time, they're talking about midnight. It's a bit advanced.
So it's 50,000 adults, and they had to fill out surveys. So between 2020 and 2022, so it's quite a long range of time, actually. But obviously it depends, doesn't it? Because early birds would be filling out their survey first thing, feeling nice and bright and breezy, whereas your night owls
I don't believe people feel bright and breezy in the morning. I think it's all...
I feel breezy in the morning.
Do you?
I think, yeah.
I'm
an early bird. I mean, this is the extreme early bird. I'm being pushed to my limits.
Look,
but
if you're waking up this morning and it's coming up to 6:45, do you tend to feel better in the morning than you do during the day? Let us know, and we'll talk about that later in the programme.
Well, they'll feel better if they tune on to GB News and see us.
And see all of our lovely faces this
Yes.
It's a slow decline from there.
Not triggering at all.
We'll take a break there, shall we? Lewis and Claire, do stay with us. We're going to look at the travel weather across Europe, and then we'll be back.
That'll cheer you up.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hi there. If you're looking for some winter sun, you will find a little in the Greek islands, although it will be windy. Fine in Italy and across much of Iberia, although it is going to turn more unsettled through Iberia and, in fact, Central Europe as these weather systems move in during the next few days. But for Thursday, at least, plenty of sunshine for Italy. We've got that strong wind blowing through the Greek islands and a few showers associated with it. Otherwise, largely fine. And then the more unsettled weather arrives at the weekend.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news,
Will, please bring us up to date.
or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons,
Very, very curious.
we bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there short and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes and Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
That's a good point.
He's lying. I mean, maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, and as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/your say. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Welcome back to Breakfast. We're going through the papers with Claire Muldoon and Lewis Oakley. And Claire, let's start with this extraordinary intervention yesterday by medical experts that said that the child killer Lucy Letby did not murder any babies.
Well, these new documents and this new evidence are very troubling for the justice system and also for the incarcerated Lucy Letby. But moreover, we have to mention the families who have lost their children. OK, they must be going through absolute turmoil. But for Dr. Shu Lee, who's a retired neonatalist, I think, from Canada, he has said the evidence would suggest to him that, in fact, all children, all babies died from natural causes. It makes you wonder why on earth they used Lucy Letby to become a modern-day patsy, almost, for NHS things. And this hospital is requiring special measures, it requires improvement, and there was a lot of neonatal deaths, not only in that Royal Countess Hospital, but also in other neonatal departments in other hospitals. So it's the care, it's the accountability. It is hugely frightening.
Yeah.
Hugely frightening. But we've known there's a bullying culture and there is no whistleblowing culture such within the NHS.
We were all happy to look at Lucy Letby and say, Lewis, you know, oh, she's a murderer, she's a killer, she's got blood on her hands, and people tend to feel better for all of that. But if it turns out that she's not guilty, we'll all feel pretty bad about it.
Oh, yeah, I remember being on TV when this happened, and people were saying, do you not think that this is cause for bringing back the death penalty? Yeah. And you just think, well, thank God that that's not the case, because she might be innocent, or she might not have committed these crimes. So this is the worry now, and I think it's really hard to separate sort of how we emotionally feel about this, sort of the rule of law, and this is the way that legal cases work. I think what we just need the truth. We need to figure out, why did these babies die? That's all we need. And
we're going to hear from families today on this, and I think the thing is they again want a reason that their child died, and
of course,
I think they'll be keen to believe.
I think what they've been through, they've been told your child unfortunately died.
Yeah.
Then later on, they'd have been told there was the potential.
But I think the other key thing is that the key thing is the phrase reasonable doubt. Yeah. And if the evidence that we now have was presented to the jury, there would have been surely reasonable doubt in order not to commit Lucy Letby.
Well, one of the mothers of a baby boy who Lucy Letby tried to murder has hit back last night, and she says it's upsetting and disrespectful.
Of course it is.
To free her, because, I mean, for some of these families, their babies died in 2015. I mean, this is 10 years ago.
I completely understand where they are.
They want answers. They thought they had them last year when Lucy Letby was found guilty of these 7 murders, and now...
Well, to take away, you're taking away some semblance of closure that sort of, you know, it was awful what had happened, but they knew what had happened and that person had faced the consequences. To then have the idea that actually this might all have to be opened up again, I wouldn't wish it on anyone.
No.
There's something to be said about whistleblower culture in the NHS, though, Claire, you're right, because there are reportedly a number of nurses who wanted to come out and defend Lucy Letby, but they were told and advised that their role perhaps wouldn't be...
You know, we've heard about her. We've heard about her notebooks saying, "I'm evil, I did this," but they're all contemporaneous. They weren't. And if you are convinced that, if people have convinced that you are the killer, a baby killer, is very emotive, then you will look inwardly and think, what have I done?
Yeah.
Well, no doubt about what Valdo Calocane did in Nottingham last summer, and he did kill 3 people. This again reflects, Lewis, on the NHS and medication that he could have had, didn't have, whatever.
So this is interesting because the headline is NHS allowed Nottingham killer to skip medication. Now, this is about the antipsychotic medication that he should have been taking. It's interesting that they've chosen to go with that as the headline. And as someone, you know, everything I've said on the record about COVID vaccines and people should be free to choose to take the medication that they want to take. Obviously, in this situation, it's, well, if you're not going to take that medication, then actually you can't just wander around freely. But I think that covers up some of the other failings that went on with this NHS. So, I mean, you know, NHS workers were warned to visit him in pairs and have a clear exit because he was so prone to aggression. He was discharged from mental health care just because he was no longer engaging with staff. These were not reasons to let someone out on the street. So I think the medication thing has taken up a big part of that headline. But there's a catalogue of failings here that went on.
Surely not engaging with your mental health team is a form of your mental health in itself and a dereliction of that. This goes back to, as well, I think, to the breakdown of community care in this country and care in the community. There are lots of people that have been shunted that shouldn't be shunted back into society. And we're now reaping the results of that.
And Claire, they're talking about, there've been inquiry into this and how we can better look after people like Calocane in the future and whatever it is. There's no money to look after them. There's no willpower. There's no staff.
There's no want. If they wanted a way to find it, instead of giving 9 billion to the Chagos Islands, we could start addressing the issues in this country and make people safer.
On that subject, let's talk about the Chagos Islands here. We're going to be bringing this up later in the programme this morning. So we were paying off, we're renting out for £9 billion.
9 billion.
And they've decided to double that to 18 billion.
Well, the truth is, Rachel Reeves and the Cabinet don't even know where they're going to find the money to pay this back over the 99-year lease. Now, the Mauritian government have now got a new head of state. They've got a new Prime Minister who's now saying, he's looked at the figures. We've got inflation. Why should we accept this amount when at the end of the term it's going to be worthless? We won't actually have any money. And what are America doing? They're like, Starmer, what are you doing? And as usual, Starmer is behaving like the lawyer, the litigant in person that he is, instead of being a leader, instead of being a diplomat, instead of being the Prime Minister.
OK, thank you for that, Claire. Lewis, thank you. Guys are going to be back in 45 minutes' time. Right now, we're going to give you a weather update. We go and we say good morning to Aidan McGivern for that. Aidan.
Despite the morning rain, it'll be a nice, warm, cosy day ahead. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, a very good morning to you. Welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. There will be some showers in the north today, but actually fine elsewhere and increasingly sunny skies for all of us during the next few days. We're starting off with bright blue skies across much of England and Wales, just some patchy cloud here and there. Bright as well in the north, but we do have some showers for northern England as well as parts of Scotland, especially towards the west and north of Scotland, along with a brisk breeze. Those showers will be falling as snow over the mountains, but they do ease later. And in between the showers, there will be some sunny spells. Temperatures of 6 or 7 in the north, 9 or 10 further south. Just some fair weather cloud building through the day. Otherwise, a beautiful end to the day for many of us. One of those crisp but bright winter's days, and more of them to come over the next couple of days. Plenty of sunshine, or at least clear skies, for eastern and southern Scotland as we go into the evening. Some patchy cloud there and a few more showers to go for the Highlands, but otherwise they are tending to fade away. Clear skies for Northern Ireland and extensively across England and Wales, and of course with light winds and clear skies overnight. Temperatures will fall away quickly. A widespread frost forming up and down the country, although I think the northern half of Scotland tending to stay too breezy for a widespread frost. Nevertheless, it's dry and it's clear for the vast majority, so temperatures dipping to -1 Celsius in towns and cities and a few degrees below that in sheltered parts. A cold start to the day on Thursday then, but plenty of sunshine first thing. A few freezing fog patches here and there. They may persist into the afternoon, but they'll be very localised. For the vast majority, it's simply a sunny day. It's going to continue to feel cold, but with light winds in the sunshine, pleasant enough. Temperatures reaching 7 or 8 Celsius. Continuing to be breezy in the far north, but dry and bright nevertheless.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In Perth and Kinross, the A989 remains closed along Tay Street in Perth because of flooding. The M6 in Lancashire is closed northbound from junction 32 for the M55 to 33 for the A6 south of Lancaster after an accident causing queues. On the M62 in West Yorkshire, there's a lane closed westbound after an accident between junctions 23 and 22 from Huddersfield to Rishworth Moor. In Cheshire, the A51 is closed each way along Nantwich Road at Tilstone Fernal because of a fire. There are severe delays to trains between New Cross Gate and both West Croydon and Crystal Palace after a track fault. On the M26 in Kent, it's taking half an hour in queues approaching the M25 because of roadworks. On the M27 in Hampshire, 2 lanes are closed eastbound where someone's broken down between junctions 10 and 11 towards Fareham, and there are delays of up to 3/4 of an hour to Whitelink sailings to and from the Isle of Wight between Portsmouth and Fishbourne.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
We're giving you not 1, but 2 chances to win this month, with 2 prize bundles that include an incredible £10,000 in tax-free cash. But that's not all. You'll also get a brand new iPhone 16 and a £500 shopping voucher to spend at your favourite store. So why not be extra lucky this month? For a chance to win an iPhone, vouchers and £10,000 in cash, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB11 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 7th of March. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
This is Britain's newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, It happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
It's a good point.
He's lying. Maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. The missed chances to stop the Nottingham killer exposed in a shocking report.
The NHS and the police had failings and they led to a trail of destruction that ended with Valdo Calocane killing Barnaby Webber, Grace O'Malley and Kumar and Ian Coates.
Victims' families prepared to call for a public inquiry today as they speak out.
The cracks in the Lucy Letby case become gaping holes as world-leading experts cast their doubts.
We did not find any murders. In all cases, death or injury were due to natural causes or just bad medical care.
Sweden in mourning. A school campus shooter leaves at least 10 people dead in the nation's worst mass shooting.
Utan jacka. Alltså jag ska gå ner till henne nu. Oh my god, det var skjutning. Folk gråter. Oh my god, det är skjutning! Oh my god!
Is there a culture of violence in our schools after a Sheffield student stabbed to death this week? We're investigating how deep this issue is.
The Prime Minister is accused of giving in to Mauritius to push the Chagos Islands deal through. That's despite President Trump's reservations.
We'll take over the Gaza Strip and we will do a job with it too. We'll own it.
Donald Trump there talking about a Gaza takeover. He shocks onlookers as he announces an ambitious plan to forever change the makeup of the Middle East.
Watch out for scammers. Turns out most tech-owning teenagers have been targeted by scam messages. We're asking this morning, is it time to set an age limit on owning a phone?
Meet all of you. My name's Catherine, and I'm going to come on your school trip today.
Well, there's the Princess of Wales, delighting those school children as they joined her on a very special tour.
And sport this morning, well, big game tonight. Arsenal tried to overturn a 2-goal deficit at Newcastle in the Carabao Cup semi-final second leg. In tennis, one double Grand Slam winner retires as our one-off Grand Slam winner loses again. One of the greatest footballers of his generation hits a landmark birthday today.
At long last, I bring news of sunny skies for virtually all of us during the next few days. Find out the latest in the forecast coming up.
Hello there, very good morning to you on this Wednesday morning. I'm Eamonn Holmes.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast.
So whose special birthday?
Well, listen, I just got to clear something up.
What?
That Mikel Arteta is not one of the greatest footballers of his generation. I know there was a picture of Mikel Arteta there, but it's not Captain Black. OK, I just want to say that.
OK.
And we should say, if you're not aware why we call him Captain Black...
He looks like Captain Black.
Just look up Captain Scarlet and you'll see do-do-do-do-do-do-do.
And you'll
see Captain
why.
Black. He's Captain Black. It's indistinguishable. As a matter of fact, I'm not sure if that was
indestructible.
The Scarlet puppet there.
Or I don't know. I don't know. Because I'm sure, I'm not being funny, I'm sure I could see the strings.
Yeah.
I'm sure I could see the strings, yeah.
Gentlemen, I have news from Cornwall.
Which is?
About kidnapped beavers. They are called Sigourney and Jean-Claude, and they've gone missing.
Oh, movie star names.
Yeah, and they're so cute.
Sigourney Weaver the beaver.
Yes, Sigourney
That's what it is, right?
And Jean-Claude, yes.
Van Damme, the
It's been
beaver.
called the Great Beaver Snatch.
Van Damme, they build dams.
Wow.
They build dams. Van Damme.
Oh, Van Damme?
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. Maybe
very
that's
good.
what it is.
Yeah, so
but
this
they
is-
are the size of Labrador dogs.
Well, these ones are particularly cute, I must say, Jean-Claude. There he is on the front page of the Star this morning. It's been called a beaver bust-up.
You sure that's not Sigourney?
No, I think that's Jean-Claude.
Oh, OK. Yeah.
Sigourney's
He's got
the one above
moustache.
him.
But they're both gone.
They're both gone
disappeared.
missing, and their owner says that they've been kidnapped by the neighbour. The neighbour says it's codswallop, and beavers just roam freely as they are. Natural England have got involved, saying that the landowner has to comply with all relevant legislation to get these beavers back.
Someone has pinched his
being
beaver.
accused of being pinched. Pinched 2 beavers, yes, Sigourney and Jean-Claude.
It's a beaver
gone
pincher.
missing.
So the thing is, though, if you're saying they're as big as Labradors,
Yeah.
it's not easy to pinch a big beaver like that,
Yeah.
surely.
Can't imagine
If
it's
it wasn't a
easy to
Labrador,
watch
it'd be a retriever.
How do you get
Right,
them back?
okay.
It's so simple.
Do you put them on a lead?
Who wants them back?
Do you put them in a lead or do you put them in a box?
Well, you can have one of those doubles leads.
But sure, they could eat their way out of anywhere they would.
That's true. See, they could
Locked up
eat
on.
through the lead like that. If they can get through a tree, a lead is going to be easy.
Nothing, inconsequential.
Yeah.
Thank you. Right, OK, let's go to the news this morning, on this Wednesday morning. Our top story this morning, an independent review has revealed that triple killer Valdo Calocane's fear of needles, right, prevented him from taking antipsychotic medication, and he was allowed to give it a miss.
Well, the report also highlighted how the risk to mental health carers was managed by making arrangements for staff to not visit Calocane's home alone. They had to go in pairs, but no plan was put in place for the case of him coming off his medication.
Now, the families of the 3 victims are preparing to hold a press conference today to demand a public inquiry. So, is it time to ask why Calocane's slipped through the net? Joining us now, former Conservative Special Advisor Lauren McKevitt. Lauren, what do you make of this?
I think this is, you know, when we've talked about this several times over the course of the last several weeks in relation to other issues that have popped up in the news, I think this is an issue of state failure across multiple areas.
So he needed this medication to keep him in check. And he decided that he didn't want it.
Exactly. And the mental health system is not the prison system. It does not have the ability to just, you know, arbitrarily lock people up without due process. It can't look at somebody and say, right, you know, or at least it can't easily look at somebody and say, right, you are not conforming to your treatment plan. We are therefore taking you into you know, custody for your own protection and for the protection of others. So basically,
is that something you would be looking at and think should be changed?
I think there needs to be a reconsideration of how we've approached secure mental health facilities over the course of the last 60 years, where there has been a concerted effort towards an increase in care in the community over that 60-year period. I think that that can work for an awful lot of people, but I think that there are cases that need much better and much more secure. And by the way, I don't mean, you know, sticking them in prison cells. I mean people who have severe mental health issues need to be treated very humanely and protected both from themselves and from the damage that they could cause in the outside world, because they do not have, you know, a secure link with reality in the way that, you know, the bulk of people in this country do. Unfortunately, how this country now treats the police and justice system in regards to people with mental health issues is basically they can't be securely held largely until the point at which they've committed a crime. So the mental health system and how it engages with the policing and justice system is fundamentally broken, and we've seen it in relation to the Axel Ruda-Cabana case. We've seen it in relation to a series of other cases. There are effectively within, you know, the makeup of society, every generation there are sort of, you know, 4 or 5 significant outliers who, you know, are do not have good mental health, who have some form of psychosis or another, who do not engage with society in the way that society needs it to in order to be safe. We do not, as a nation, adequately support those people through, you know, including through keeping them protectively and securely housed.
But all of those things cost money, don't they? They cost billions of pounds of which we're giving to the Chagos Islands, it would seem, with payments now being made in line with inflation. So estimated costs up from 9 billion to 18 billion pounds now. Do you think Sir Keir Starmer is going to push forward with this deal?
I'm not sure that his cabinet is going to let him. It came out overnight that it seems that there are several members of his cabinet who are quite unhappy with the deal that's been struck here. The original 9 billion 99-year lease deal was rejected by the Mauritian cabinet. Probably about a month ago now. So they went back to the drawing board, and it would appear that, you know, a doubling of the cost of this is the price tag that's attached to this deal now. That seems like an enormous price tag for Keir Starmer to be able to look his other international law chums in the face at dinner parties in Islington. 18 billion is the cost of the policing and justice system in England and Wales. And there are a lot of people in this country who are colder than they were last year because the adult winter fuel payment has been removed from some older people in this country. There are people who are paying more tax, people who are paying more national insurance contribution if they're small business owners. There are a lot of people who are paying a lot more money for a lot more things than they were a couple of years ago. And they're going to wonder why the entirety of the England and Wales policing and justice budget is being handed over to the Mauritian government for islands that we own and, in fact, have already paid for about 40 years ago.
At a time of geopolitical insecurity?
Yeah, at a time when we need to be able to, A, deal with our American allies, significantly better than we currently are dealing with them as, in relation to this particular base, and we need to protect ourselves against China. Mauritius is very much in the sphere of influence of China, and that is a very dangerous place for us to be in terms of giving up what is a set of islands very, very geographically far away from Mauritius. This is about the same distance as the United Kingdom to Donetsk in Ukraine, which was founded by a Welsh. It is about the same as Wales declaring that they'd like to take Donetsk back for a greater Wales.
And this is why there's such a hoo-ha over the Greenland being taken over again. Again, it's a listening post. So it would be good for the Russians, it would be good for the Chinese, it would be good for the Americans, it would be good for the British, good for lots of people. But these islands take on strategic significance as a result.
Well, Trump is far from the first president to suggest taking over Greenland. The first one was Andrew Jackson. Greenland has been a sort of a between America and Europe for centuries now. It forms part of this Arctic corridor that we would like to keep secure. It's part of the reason why Scotland is so important to the United States, is because it forms the other side of that Arctic corridor and how they monitor Russian activity in the Arctic corridor.
And also, we're just talking about money that this country doesn't have, and to be able to give out 18 billion. We haven't got money now. They're talking about Royal Parks Police. So all the Royal Parks around London, the Metropolitan Police are taking away all their staff from there. So these parks will now be just open season for criminality.
I think this, I've said on your programme before, the Met Police do not have a good relationship with how they treat women. And the number one people who are going to be negatively impacted by this are women who choose to run in parks or choose to walk in parks. Every day I go for a walk in Battersea Park, which is near where I live. I go very, very early. Sometimes I go into the evening when it's dark. If that is no longer secure to do, it's predominantly women who will be stopped from doing stuff like that. And I think that the Met needs to have a very serious conversation about the impact that it's having on women's activities, because they cannot keep women safe in London.
Lauren, thank you very much indeed. Much appreciated. Have your say as well. Our poll of the day, we are asking, should Keir Starmer U-turn on a surrender of the Chagos Islands?
Yeah, we'll bring you the live results throughout the day, so make sure you stay tuned. As always, the final result will be announced later in Martin Daubney's show. If you want to get involved, you can just scan the QR code on your screens now or head to gbnews.com/poll.
OK. Let's go to the Great British Giveaway. Not one, but two chances to win. Here's how.
Want to be one of two lucky Great British Giveaway winners? That's right. You could win one of two prize bundles, which includes a brand new iPhone 16, £500 in shopping vouchers to spend in your favourite store, and an incredible £10,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. What would you spend that cash on? For a chance to win an iPhone, vouchers and £10,000 in cash, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB11 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 7th of March. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Well, the Princess of Wales is back doing what she does best. She's back in business. And yesterday she met up with a lot of primary school children and she went to the National Portrait Gallery. What was that about?
Well, it's part of a drive to encourage society to prioritise the needs of young children.
Our royal correspondent Cameron Walker with this.
Nice to meet all of you. My name's Catherine, and I'm going to come on your school trip today.
I spy a princess. Catherine entertaining primary school children on a minibus on their way to the National Portrait Gallery for a new interactive trail, exploring their emotions through paintings. Head teacher Alex Askerth was also on the minibus, actually provided and paid for by Kensington Palace.
It was an experience that we won't probably ever have again. She was wonderful. She was so relaxed with the children, really chatty. The children were so engaged with her. They were playing I Spy at one point. She was helping with jumpers. It was wonderful. It was just like going on a school trip with extra people. It was very special.
13 reception children from All Souls Church of England Primary School in London were taken on the magical Bowbeam Tree Trail, which is inspired by Catherine's early years work. On Sunday, her Centre for Early Childhood launched the new Shaping Us framework, aimed at increasing awareness of Britain's social and emotional skills. The Princess wrote the foreword for a report marking the launch of the framework, describing how modern life was leaving many people feeling isolated and vulnerable. Researchers found the first 5 years of a child's life is crucial to improving their life chances, making addiction or poor mental health less likely. The Princess helped look after the children as they were guided around the trail, the first project associated with her initiative to persuade society to prioritise early childhood development. The children were encouraged to look at portraits and identify their emotions through their facial expressions. They then created their own self-portraits. Christian Guy, who heads up Catherine's Centre for Early Childhood, is understood to have worked with Catherine privately on her new initiative, hinting it's the first of many.
She's an absolute driving force for this. She got the whole thing going in 2023 and was the driving force behind the framework. And it's terrific to have her here today, leading the charge on social and emotional development here and around the UK. And we've got some exciting things to come.
The Princess, who's patron of the National Portrait Gallery, met museum bosses from across the UK who are launching their own projects inspired by the framework. She told them how important it was to make the initiative available to children across the country, both in schools and communities. The free trail at the National Portrait Gallery in central London runs for 6 weeks for families and schools. Cameron Walker, GB News.
Well, former royal butler to King Charles, Grant Harold, joins us now. Good to see you this morning, Grant. And that was Catherine at her very best, wasn't it, with the children?
Yes, good morning to both of you. Absolutely, it's lovely to see her back at work, despite everything she's gone through recently. I think that's one thing people will thinking watching this footage. It's great to see her back doing what she's good at. And of course, when it comes to being around children and her work with children, that's something that's very close to heart, and it always has been. Even when I was with the family, I remember whenever there was any kind of children around, that was a great focus for her. So it kind of makes sense to kind of see her obviously being involved in this work, but actually undertaking this as one of her kind of first duties of this year as well.
And she'll know a good portrait when she sees one. There's been enough of her husband, or King Charles, and those houses that they would visit and live in must be just adorned, Grant, with them.
Absolutely, you're quite right. It was interesting. When I saw the portraits, I thought they were quite sweet. As you said, there's been quite a few interesting portraits of the royal family over the years. I'm sure some have been loved and some maybe have been questioned, but as you said, there's been quite a few of them. And the other thing that was quite sweet about this visit, which I thought, Eamonn, I don't know if you think the same, and Ellie possibly as well, is it reminded me a little bit of Diana, Princess of Wales, because, you know, back in, obviously, her late mother-in-law, and some of what she was doing, holding that little girl's hand and walking around with that little girl in particular, it kind of reminded me very much of what her mother-in-law would have done if she'd been in the same situation, which is interesting to see that, because the Princess of Wales, I think at the time, was seen to be a very kind of modern royal and did things quite differently, if I'm right to say that, than other royals. Well, and it's nice to see that they now all kind of follow that kind of lead.
Talking about a modern royal, Ellie was looking on Instagram today, and Kate's sister-in-law, Meghan. Tell us about what she was doing, Ellie.
She posted a video, and this is after the Los Angeles wildfires. She's been talking about what she's been doing to help the people of Los Angeles. Let's just have a look at this video, Grant, and then we'll ask you what you think about it.
About 2 or 3 weeks ago, when my husband and I were in Altadena, we went to a community where all the homes were left in ashes. This mom had found a couple things, and as I was talking to her, I turned and looked, and I saw this young woman, and I said, oh my gosh, how old are you? She's 15. She lives there. And her mom shared something with me and said that when they came back to see their house for the first time, which is as we were meeting them, that all that she'd been looking for in her home was the t-shirt from the Billie Eilish concert that she had just gone to, that she left in the washing machine or the dryer. And of course, they now see their home and the washing machine and the dryer are ash. They're not there anymore. I don't even know what all of this stuff means, but it's signed for her. Is that a thing? The lunchbox thing? I don't know. This is when I feel really old. Huge thank you, Billie Eilish. This is going to mean so much to her.
What do you make of it, Grant?
You know, I think whether you love or hate her, and there's a lot of different feelings out there towards her, I think this is one of the good things she's done. She's using her position, if you like, to make a slight difference to someone's life. And I think if you're able to do that, that's amazing. Of course, putting it on Instagram, kind of showing that people question why she's doing that part of it. But I think, you know, to do something like this is fantastic when you've got that position that you can make a slight difference in someone's life. And obviously, you know, what's going out there is devastating and it's awful. And it's great to see celebrities trying to kind of rally around and do things like this. So on that point, I think this is actually where she's using her position for something good, which is fantastic.
Well, thank you for using your position to speak to us today, Grant. Always appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
When I look at you, I think about eating. You know, I remember you and I met one day and you prepared me boiled eggs or something and toast.
I did.
You did. As a sort of breakfast. And I thought, this is the time I need that now. I need Grant here serving me that up the way King Charles would have
Oh,
me.
yeah. Feel free to come and hang out with us anytime, Grant.
I'll be with you in a couple of hours to get your lunch ready, sir.
Good lad, good lad. Look after yourself. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
Take care.
Let's have a look outside the windows and see what the weather's doing. Aidan McGivern.
A chilly start will give way to a lovely, warm afternoon. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, a very good morning to you. Welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. There will be some showers in the north today, but actually fine elsewhere and increasingly sunny skies for all of us during the next few days. We're starting off with bright blue skies across much of England and Wales, just patchy cloud here and there. Bright as well in the north, but we do have some showers for northern England as well as parts of Scotland, especially towards the west and north of Scotland, along with a brisk breeze. Those showers will be falling as snow over the mountains, but they do ease later. And in between the showers, there will be some sunny spells. Temperatures of 6 or 7 in the north, 9 or 10 further south. Just some fair weather cloud building through the day. Otherwise, a beautiful end to the day for many of us. One of those crisp but bright winter's days, and more of them to come over the next couple of days. Plenty of sunshine, or at least clear skies, for eastern and southern Scotland as we go into the evening. Some patchy cloud there and a few more showers to go for the Highlands, but otherwise they are tending to fade away. Clear skies for Northern Ireland and extensively across England and Wales, and of course with light winds and clear skies overnight. Temperatures will fall away quickly. A widespread frost forming up and down the country, although I think the northern half of Scotland tending to stay too breezy for a widespread frost. Nevertheless, it's dry and it's clear for the vast majority, so temperatures dipping to -1 Celsius in towns and cities and a few degrees below that in sheltered parts. A cold start to the day on Thursday then, but plenty of sunshine first thing. A few freezing fog patches here and there. They may persist into the afternoon, but they'll be very localised. For the vast majority, it's simply a sunny day. It's going to continue to feel cold, but with light winds in the sunshine, pleasant enough. Temperatures reaching 7 or 8 Celsius. Continuing to be breezy in the far north, but dry and bright nevertheless.
A nice bright morning will generate a lovely warm day, right through to the evening. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
Because the failure is...
You're
the failure is...
deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, Will, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get the book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there short and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
That's a good point. He's lying. I mean, maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Wherever you're watching, wherever you're listening, just speak to your device and say, play GB News. GB News Breakfast, that's us. We're here with you until 9:30. Now we're going to talk about a survey which has found that more than 2/3 of teenagers with mobile phones have been targeted with scam text messages. Now, where I'm slightly doubtful about this, if they're targeted, we're all targeted.
Yes.
They're not just picking up and saying, we're going to target that person because they're a teenager. But it just happens that teenagers have phones. So we're sort of asking questions like, does this affect their mental health?
Yes. Are teenagers more vulnerable in that sense to things like scam messages?
But we're all the same. Would you know how to deal with a scam message? I wouldn't.
I just ignore them.
Yeah.
But what about young people? Is it acceptable that they should be receiving these sorts of messages, or is it about time that we introduced an age restriction on buying mobile phones? That's what we're going to debate today. We're joined by former Conservative MP Miriam Cates and Digital and Communications Manager at the Adam Smith Institute, Seb Charlton. Very good to see you both this morning. Miriam, let's start with you. Do you think there should be an age limit on buying mobile phones?
Good morning. Well, I think it would be quite difficult to impose an age limit on buying mobile phones, mainly because a lot of the phones that children have are hand-me-downs, their parents' former iPhones. So I think that would be quite difficult. But I do think there should be an age limit on using social media. So that should be age verified in the way it is when you open a bank account or something like that. And I do think we should have much more discussion about how safe mobile phones are for children, smartphones, I should say. And Eamonn said about children being targeted. And I think the point is that the way that smartphones work and the way that the algorithms work on social media, for example, is that the technology companies and users know exactly how old you are. They know what your interests are. Have you ever had the experience when your phone starts advertising something to you that you've just spoken about 5 minutes ago? The level of knowledge about us is incredible. And so teenagers are targeted with scams that specifically target their weaknesses, their interests, their vulnerabilities. And one devastating example of this is the growing number of boys that are falling victim to sextortion scams, where somebody approaches them who looks like a teenage girl, isn't, of course, is a gang in Africa often, and then gets them to send a nude photo and then blackmails them to the tune of thousands of pounds in order not to share this photo. And some of these boys are committing suicide.
Okay, well, the algorithms know everything, Seb. I don't know anything because I don't know if you're a teenager or how old you are. You do look very young.
I'm not a teenager anymore.
You're not a teenager anymore. What do you think about this whole idea? You know, Miriam talked about the algorithm targeting. It knows everything anyway. Is there anything we can do? Anything we should do?
I think it's important to make sure that kids aren't accessing harmful content online, but I think ultimately this is a decision for the parents to make, and I think parents tend to know when it's right for their kids to have phones. I think if the government tries to mandate, you know, people having certain age verifications on accessing social media, that will just drive people into accessing black market websites that potentially are less regulated, more dangerous. So I think it is an issue. We do need to be aware of it, and we do want to give kids more digital literacy, but I don't think imposing a sort of harsh age limit is actually the best way to tackle that problem.
What about children specifically being targeted, though, in the way that Miriam is describing?
I think that's a real problem, but we want to educate kids on how to deal with that, because at one point you're going to be accessing the digital world, and you want to have the skills to navigate that. And a lot of the people that fall victim to scams are older people that don't actually understand, you know, whether or not they're receiving a scam text. And I think so you want to get people onto screens in the online world in a safe way so that they can understand it. But fundamentally, this is something that parents can decide and not the state.
Miriam?
Well, I do disagree with that. I think at the root of this problem that is a lot of people have forgotten what childhood is, and the fact that children are very, very different to adults. They're not just mini adults. Their brains are completely different. They're not developed fully until the age of 25. They're unable to resist temptation, control their impulses in the way that adults are. And I don't like this argument that they're going to be immersed in the digital world one day. We just need to educate them. You could say that about sex, about drugs, about all sorts of things that we deliberately protect children from because their brains are not developed enough to cope with before a certain age. Now, I accept that 16 is an arbitrary limit, but we have to have arbitrary limits in sophisticated society. We have, you know, age 17 for driving, for example. You just have to have those arbitrary limits. But this idea that you have to prepare children for the adult world by exposing them to it is completely false and goes against everything we know about child development and what history teaches us. We deliberately try to control influences, or we have in the past, to protect our children from those kind of exposures. And we know children who are exposed to abuse, to violence, to those kind of things at a young age can be traumatized for life. And this is now happening. Even the 2% of parents who don't give their children mobile phones, and that should tell you something about how difficult it is now to be a teenager without one, can't control what their children are seeing. I know parents whose children have been deeply traumatized by explicit videos they've been shown by someone else on their phone on the bus. You can't control for that. I think we just have to accept that this is not suitable for children.
OK, I got to control you now, Miriam. Seb, just final word as to what you think young people should be doing to be more aware of what is going on.
Well, I think we need to have education about being safe online. And I think, parents and teachers, we do need to make that case. But a lot of this feels like people that oppose the creation of the printing press. Unfortunately, technology's here to stay. Kids are going to use it. We can't regulate to stop them using it. We just need to find ways to prepare them for it and help them use it safely.
Okay. Would you give a child a pornographic book?
Obviously not, no.
Right, so that's exactly what I'm saying. Technology's here to stay. It's great for adults. But every single time there's a technological revolution, we have to find safeguards for children. It happened with the Industrial Revolution. It's happened with all sorts of things. The idea that we should just let children out into this Wild West just because it's good for adults is not something historically we've believed, and I don't know why we should change our minds about it now.
OK, really appreciate that. Thank you very much indeed, Seb. Thank you very much indeed. Have your say at home.
Yes, gbnews.com/you'll say. Do stay with us. Coming up, we've got a whole host of sporting birthdays today. Can you guess their ages? You can play that with us next, and with Paul Coit as well with us.
How old would he be? That's a very
21,
good question.
max.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In Perth and Kinross, the A989 remains closed each way along Tay Street in Perth because of flooding. The M6 in Lancashire is closed northbound between junctions 32 and 33 from the M55 to the A6 south of Lancaster after an accident causing queues. On the M62 in West Yorkshire, there's a lane closed westbound after an accident between junctions 23 and 22 from Huddersfield to Richwood Moor, with queues from junction 24 at Ainley Top. On the M1 in Bedfordshire, 2 out of 4 lanes are closed southbound where a car's broken down just before junction 11 at Dunstable, queues from junction 11A. On the M25 in Hertfordshire, there's a lane closed where someone's broken down on the anti-clockwise exit at junction 22 near St Albans, causing queues. On the M3 in Surrey, there's a lane closed northbound just before junction 2 of the M25 after an accident with queues from junction 3 at Bagshot. And on the M27 in Hampshire, 2 lanes are closed eastbound. There's an accident between junctions 10 and 11 towards Fareham. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Headliners. Tomorrow's papers tonight, every night from 11 p.m.
We've got the Daily Mail now with the latest in the court case over whether a man is a woman or a man. It's a tough question. And J.K. Rowling has given her opinion. I think I can guess what it is, Cressida.
Explosive twist in Australia's What is a Woman trans battle as Harry Potter author J.K. Rowling gets involved. So this is the court case Giggle versus Tickle. Tickle was a...
He's Mr. Men.
That's right. It's a Mr. Men trans battle.
Kind of is a Mr. Man.
It was a women's group, wasn't it? Tickle, Giggles... Oh, I get it wrong. Giggles for girls. And Roxy Tickle, who is a trans woman, wanted to join this group and wasn't allowed, was banned for being a biological male, and then sued and amazingly got $10,000 for this, which is already extraordinary to me.
Yeah.
But it's now doubling down and is going to file a cross appeal seeking to upgrade the judgment.
Yeah.
So Roxy has come back for another bite of the cherry.
And I've had a look at this Roxanne Tickle, the trans woman.
Is she pretty?
No, not one of the pretty ones. Not a Blair White. Just looks like, to be honest, it looks like
you could be sued for $10,000.
Looks like one of us.
Yeah.
To be honest, no. Like I mean, I'll happily.
For yourself.
No, I think it's an absolute. It's a farce, and it's making a mockery of not just. It's not just making a mockery of women's right to have their own spaces. It's making a mockery of genuine trans people who actually put some effort in and look like a woman.
What do you mean a genuine trans
And also,
people?
if
We don't believe in that.
If your name was Roxanne, if you were going to transition, you wouldn't pick the name Roxanne Tickle.
What?
You choose Tess.
Tess. That's a kind of name. No, the truth is that's one of the problems, is you get a choice of the name you're going to choose. And of course, you're going to choose like a hot Roxanne. That's a hot Roxanne. That's a great name. They're not going to choose.
You don't think
Louis.
Tess would work better with Tickle?
GB News, the People's Channel.
Breaking news at 7:37 that a 15-year-old boy has been charged with the murder of Harvey Wilgoose, who's also 15, who was stabbed to death at a school in Sheffield on Monday lunchtime. This news coming from the Crown Prosecution Service. He's also been charged with possession of a bladed article and 1 count of affray. He will not be named because he is a youth. And the Crown Prosecution Service has said that this is now an active case and the youth has a right to a fair trial. So they're reminding people to be very careful about any reporting.
That's always a lot of nonsense. We should be allowed to name these people. This age business is ridiculous. Here's Paul, who never talks about his age. But you will talk about other people's ages. Who have we got birthday-wise today?
I've got some birthdays for you. Oh, by the way, it's 1 year today until a major sporting event.
1 year today?
It will happen in 1 year. In exactly 1 year from today, a major sporting event will begin.
The European Championship?
No. It's in Cortina, in Italy.
Cortina, where the car was...
Yes, and also, I'll give you a clue, the Pink Panther, the film with David Niven and Peter Sellers, was set there. It's the Winter Olympics.
Oh!
The Winter Olympics.
Where is it?
When?
Where is it?
In Cortina.
Cortina.
That's what I said, it's Cortina. It's in Cortina and it's 1 year away today.
Great.
Oh.
Just so we can be ready. So
Right,
you know
okay,
that I'm going to start
The
having
countdown is on.
the countdown is on.
We'll be
Let's
looking
see
for the
some
torch.
birthday
Want to do some
people.
sporting birthdays?
Yeah.
OK, let's do some. OK, who have we got then? Famous sporting birthdays today. First one is...
Worth waiting for, hopefully.
I tell you. Yes. Let's see. We'll take it in any order that comes. Here we are. Here it is.
Throw them up and we'll tell you who
Exactly.
they are.
Cristiano Ronaldo. It's his birthday today.
39.
39 for Ronaldo.
No, he's 40.
He is...
He's 40.
You're right.
Yeah.
He is 40 today. He's going to the
'Cause
birthday
he's
party.
Probably the greatest footballer who ever lived. He's the most complete player ever. He can do it all.
It wasn't bad. It was. You met him. You must have hung out with Ronaldo. Yeah. Nice fella.
He was very, very nice to me.
Yeah.
Very courteous.
Yeah, but everybody is to you, though. If it was me, it'd be different. It would be. OK, right, so what do I do? Do I give you the point? You knew anyway, right? So...
Oh, I knew he was 40, yeah.
It's OK, all right, well...
Can I just say I really wasn't far off there?
You weren't far off.
Yeah.
That
was a guess.
Let's go again. Just give me anybody. Who we got? Birthdays today. It's Neymar. Neymar de Silva Santos Junior.
Neymar would be mid-30s, 33.
33?
Yeah.
Right. Why are you looking at me in that way?
34.
Eamonn, 33 is the right answer.
Eamonn!
Very good. Very, very
Tell
good.
you what, though, he looks older than Ronaldo.
Well, I assumed
He does.
that he was closer to Ronaldo, but only 33.
Yeah.
He's now gone back to Santos in Brazil. OK, let's go again. Yeah, we got more. There's plenty more. Now, that is Sir Ben Ainsley.
Ben Ainsley.
Most successful sailor in Olympic history, 4 golds, and obviously falling out with Jim Radcliffe now because of Team Ineos Britannia and the American Cup.
He's married to my friend Georgie Thompson.
I feel like you've got a leg up on all of these because you've been...
I know, he seems to know everybody that's in this.
Well, I was invited to his house, actually, and ended up we couldn't during the summer last
Was it on the river? Was it on the sea? Was there a yacht out the back?
I didn't get there. Oh,
you didn't get there?
Some stranger, I think, working.
Yeah, but you knew where it was, right? Was it on the coast?
The Isle of Wight.
Of course
that's
it was.
classic.
Cows.
Yeah.
There you go. No, that's all right, actually.
How old is he?
Right, Sir Ben Ainsley.
47? No, too high?
I'm not saying anything.
Oh, dear.
48.
48 is the right answer. Honestly. Both of you are very, very impressive today.
I just followed your lead with that.
OK, let's go again. We'll go again. I've got 2 more.
Oh, that's...
Jose Maria Olazabal. Olazabal with the Ryder Cup there.
Ooh.
Great friend of Sevi back in the day.
50s.
Do you reckon the golf clubs in the picture were in the way? Or is he meant to be standing next to the golf clubs?
No, he's posing to say I'm a golfer and
look at the cup I've got.
Ryder Cup there.
And look at my lovely orange jumper.
Yeah, a nice orange
listening
jumper.
on the radio.
Nice jumper, that.
Jose Maria Olazabal.
He's 56.
56 today.
59.
59 is the right answer.
Yay!
Unbelievable. I forgot to say, please feel free to play along at home.
Yes.
One more, final one.
Michael Sheen.
It's Michael Sheen playing the part of...
Brian Clough.
Young man, Brian Clough. That's right, in The Damn United.
That's a great film.
It is a great film. It's a great book.
Yeah. And he's a great manager.
And he was. Everything great.
And he's 62.
62 for Michael Sheen?
No, he's mid-50s. He's
looking good. He's looking good.
He's 50, 56, 55.
What did you say first time?
56.
56 is right.
Oh, well done, Eamonn.
You know what? One more, very briefly. Did you ever see Michael Sheen giving the Welsh football team a talk?
No.
Have we got that? And it's... have a look at this. Now, I don't know if I was in the Welsh team, how I would feel about this. He was trying to inspire them for the World Cup. Here's Michael Sheen. Here we go.
Red as the rising flag of Merthyr. Red as the great wall of Gwalior, because that's what you carry with you, boys. But Yma o hyd, you sons of speed, with that red wall around us. We're still here! Come on, Red! Come on!
I'd say,
I'm
all
not
right.
even Welsh, and
I wouldn't. I'd be like, oh, Michael, tone it down a bit, son, will you? Come on, crying out loud.
That was inspirational.
Yeah, did it get you going?
Yeah, it got me going,
It did
yeah.
get me going. I was like,
Good stuff, very
off,
good.
Michael. Yeah.
That was very nice, Paul. Thank you
Thanks
very
for
much.
Very well
watching.
played, the
Very
both of
good.
you. Very good.
I
Very
think that's
good.
the best round we've ever done.
It was magnificent.
What was the final score?
I think it was 3-2
You weren't keeping
to
count.
you. 3-2, yeah.
I think I won.
No, I don't think you did.
I think I did.
We'll work it out over the break. We'll be back with Lewis Oakley and Claire Muldoon, and they'll have the papers right after this. Hope you'll join us.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hi there. If you're looking for some winter sun, you will find a little in the Greek islands, although it will be windy. Fine in Italy and across much of Iberia, although it is going to turn more unsettled through Iberia and, in fact, Central Europe as these weather systems move in during the next few days. But for Thursday, at least, plenty of sunshine for Italy. We've got that strong wind blowing through the Greek islands and a few showers associated with it. Otherwise, largely fine. And then the more unsettled weather arrives at the weekend.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean,
this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there short and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is GB News, the People's Channel. This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, Will, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
Because the failure is...
You're
the failure is...
deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel. Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. We're going through the papers now with political commentator Claire Muldoon and writer and podcaster Lewis Oakley. Morning, you two. Good morning. Lewis, let's start with the big question today. Did Starmer break lockdown with his voice coach on Christmas Eve?
Clearly he did. I mean, a voice coach
I don't believe he
is
did.
not an
I don't believe he
essential
did.
worker.
No, it's obviously there's no difference to his voice. It's as dull and boring as ever. Therefore, I don't believe he saw him.
He should get his money back. But look, I was talking about this yesterday with someone, and the consensus of people was, oh, Lewis, it's 5 years ago, get over it.
I'm not over it, to be honest. I remember these lockdowns, and I remember, we were pregnant.
Well, is that a resigning issue for him then?
Yeah. I really would go a lot further. I would throw a load of people in jail for what happened to us in COVID. They got it so wrong. And it ruined people's lives. I remember we were pregnant at the time. My other half was terrified she was going to have to give birth alone. She made me promise, if we get there and they say you can't come in, we have to go home. I'm not doing it without you. I think that lockdown restrictions led to my granddad's eventual death. There is so many things that I just think it's disgusting.
I was outraged at funerals and people not being allowed to say goodbye to their loved ones and whatever. It
was disgusting. And then you find out that they're allowed to have voice coaches, and this is just the tip of the iceberg of all the other things we found out that, ministers, people that were either in charge of government or were in opposition saying we should be doing much more, weren't abiding by the same rules. It's outrageous.
This is what happens when you've got someone who was head of the CPS as a lawyer, is now in charge of the country. He knows all the loopholes, and this is also a really important journalistic fact, that journalists have to be there to probe everything, to question everything, and hold people and judgments to scrutiny. And this is what's happening now. And Keir Starmer, we have been shown all the time how he is operating as two-tier Keir. And I'm sorry, enough is enough. The fact that he had a voice coach, I'm with Eamonn on this, he still sounds as robotic as ever, and she needs to be sacked or given he needs a full refund. Probably it came out the public office, public purse. And I'm sorry, it didn't work. And this is not working, and he has to be held accountable.
You're totally right. I think that what we're seeing from him is that kind of lawyer vibe of like, oh, well, I've got an excuse for that. Oh, well, I can get out of that. And it's just this growing feeling of you just think you're in your own lane, don't you? That you are above everyone else.
All power
Well, he did say if he was ever found to break the rules that he would step down from his position. He said that in 2021 with Beergate in Durham. He said if it was found to break the rules, he would have stepped down. So we'll have to see what happens in this instance.
Claire, 25% of people who are couples, right, would let their partner have an affair with a celebrity crush. And we've got a full list of who the celebrities are, the most popular being Brad Pitt and the least popular being Henry Cavill. But so there's a whole list, all sorts of people are in there.
Anyone would think Valentine's Day is coming up and a card company wanted to sell some cards or even get the romance into things. But who on earth would want to question and make a survey up of this? Something as derisory as this? How on earth can couples actually maintain a semblance of self-respect, of respect for the relationship, and say, actually, I want to have it off with Brad Pitt, or I want to have it off with someone else? It's disgusting.
But
Lewis, you spoke about staying in your lane. These people should stay in their lane.
If you could, would you? Maybe it's that sort of question.
But you keep that to yourself. Come on. There should never be any hall passes in relationships. No. It then leads to fundamental breakdowns of respect, of unity, and of virtue.
I think, look, if push comes to shove, I'm sure that people would say, oh, my God, Brad Pitt's now here. Actually, I take it back. You don't have a hall pass. But I think that it's actually OK for couples to talk about who they find attractive. One thing that does irritate me is when married couples pretend that, they have no hormones anymore and they don't notice other attractive people. Of course you do. You're married, not dead.
Yeah. Are you shaking your head there? Are you shaking like...
I don't want to hear about it. Like Claire said, you keep that to yourself.
Yes. No, but don't you think it's healthy in a relationship to talk about who you find attractive?
You don't want to hear that you might, if you could go on a dinner date with Idris Elba, you wouldn't.
But we're not just
I wouldn't be going on a dinner date with Idris Elba.
No. Why not?
Because I'm engaged.
Yes. And you're engaged to
but that's the thing, you probably wouldn't actually end up doing it.
Doesn't
but talking
matter.
about it,
Doesn't
there's
matter.
a difference between fantasy and reality.
It plants seed, and that is dangerous.
Yes.
I have to say...
I'm with you, Claire.
I've met George Clooney a number of times, and the man is...
And you would.
He's divine. Well, he's divine. He's a very, very nice, charming man. I've never met Margot Robbie, but I would I would there. But, but Margot Robbie may be horrible. I don't know.
And Margot Robbie may not want to cheat with you. Who knows?
No, I'm sure she wouldn't, but then it's not up to her. It's a quarter of couples asking, if you could give your partner a license, who would you let them have an affair with?
Well, just don't give any licenses, right? It's just not right.
Fine
it's morally
to say, in theory,
repugnant.
if
So
Brad
if
Pitt showed up...
your wife said, I would love to have it away with Brad Pitt. You'd be fine.
I'd say, oh yeah, I would allow it. But then if he actually showed up, I'd say, actually no. So I think it's fine to ingest. Say, of course, I wasn't standing your way.
Two-tier Lewis.
There we go. I'm happy to be a hypocrite.
I saw on my Instagram, I got a couple of these videos that came, and this guy stops a couple coming out of a supermarket, and he says, excuse me, I've never met you before. He said, but for $5,000, would you let me spend the night with your wife?
No, that's horrendous.
ridiculous. Anyway, he got to $100,000, and they said yes.
No.
Oh my God.
And he walked away.
There's a Robert Redford film with Demi Moore.
There is. There is. What's that called?
I don't know what it's called, but it was $1 million.
Yes.
And they went ahead with it. Or I don't think when the push came to the shove, I don't think the girl actually did. But why live your life like that? It's like these girls wanting to...
Indecent proposal.
That's what it was called.
Indecent.
Yeah, and it is indecent.
It is indecent, Claire. I'm with you. Let us know what you think. gbnews.com/you'll say. Thank you very much, you two. We're out of time. We're going to look at the weather with Aidan.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, a very good morning to you. Welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. There will be some showers in the north today, but actually fine elsewhere and increasingly sunny skies for all of us during the next few days. We're starting off with bright blue skies across much of England and Wales, just some patchy cloud here and there. Bright as well in the north, but we do have some showers for northern England as well as parts of Scotland, especially towards the west and north of Scotland, along with a brisk breeze. Those showers will be falling as snow over the mountains, but they do ease later. And in between the showers, there will be some sunny spells. Temperatures of 6 or 7 in the north, 9 or 10 further south. Just some fair weather cloud building through the day. Otherwise, a beautiful end to the day for many of us. One of those crisp but bright winter's days, and more of them to come over the next couple of days. Plenty of sunshine, or at least clear skies, for eastern and southern Scotland as we go into the evening. Some patchy cloud there and a few more showers to go for the Highlands, but otherwise they are tending to fade away. Clear skies for Northern Ireland and extensively across England and Wales, and of course with light winds and clear skies overnight. Temperatures will fall away quickly. A widespread frost forming up and down the country, although I think the northern half of Scotland tending to stay too breezy for a widespread frost. Nevertheless, it's dry and it's clear for the vast majority, so temperatures dipping to -1 Celsius in towns and cities and a few degrees below that in sheltered parts. A cold start to the day on Thursday then, but plenty of sunshine first thing. A few freezing fog patches here and there. They may persist into the afternoon, but they'll be very localised. For the vast majority, it's simply a sunny day. It's going to continue to feel cold, but with light winds in the sunshine, pleasant enough. Temperatures reaching 7 or 8 Celsius. Continuing to be breezy in the far north, but dry and bright nevertheless.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. The M6 in Lancashire is closed northbound from junction 32 for the M55 to 33 for the A6 south of Lancaster after an accident. There are queues from junction 31 at Samlesbury. On the M62 in West Yorkshire, there's a lane closed westbound after an accident between junctions 23 and 22 from Huddersfield to Rishworth Moor, with queues from junction 24 at Ainley Top. On the M1 in Bedfordshire, the southbound exit at junction 11, the A505 Luton and Dunstable turn, is partly blocked by a breakdown, with queues from junction 11A for the A5 north of Dunstable. The M3 in Surrey is blocked northbound by an accident just before junction 2 for the M25, causing queues. On the M23 in Surrey, there's a lane closed northbound with an accident between junctions 9 and 8 from Gatwick Airport to the M25. And on the M27 in Hampshire, there's a lane closed eastbound after an accident between junctions 10 and 11 towards Fareham, with queues from junction 9. And that's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Want to be one of 2 lucky Great British Giveaway winners? That's right, you could win one of 2 prize bundles, which includes a brand new iPhone 16, £500 in shopping vouchers to spend in your favourite store, and an incredible £10,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. What would you spend that cash on? For a chance to win an iPhone, vouchers and £10,000 in cash, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB11 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 7th of March. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
That's a good point. He's lying. Maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Very good to see you on this Wednesday morning. The missed chances to stop the Nottingham killer exposed in a shocking report.
NHS and police failings are blamed for paving the way for Valdo Calocane to brutally kill Barnaby Webber, Grace O'Malley Kumar and Ian Coates.
The victims' families will call for a public inquiry today as they speak out.
A very shocking litany of failures emerging. The families calling for a public inquiry. Now, the Prime Minister Keir Starmer, as leader of the opposition, promised these families a full public inquiry. Will the government now deliver?
The cracks in the Lucy Letby case become gaping holes as world-leading experts cast their doubts.
We did not find any murders. In all cases, death or injury were due to natural causes or just bad medical care.
Sweden in mourning as a school campus shooter leaves at least 11 people dead. This is the country's worst mass shooting.
Oh my god, det var skjutning, folk gråter! Oh my god, det är skjutning! Oh my god!
But is there a culture of violence in our schools? After a Sheffield student is stabbed to death at school, we're investigating how deep this issue goes.
The community continues to lay floral tributes here to Harvey Wilgoose at his school in Sheffield as a 15-year-old has been charged today with his murder.
The Prime Minister is accused of giving to Mauritius to push the Chagos Islands through, the deal there through, despite President Trump's reservations. Talking about that to the Shadow Foreign Secretary very shortly.
All of you, my name's Catherine, and I'm going to come on your school trip today.
The Princess of Wales delights school children as she joins them on a very special school trip.
And in sport this morning, Arsenal will try to overturn a 2-goal deficit at Newcastle in the Carabao Cup semi-final, second leg, which is tonight. There have been 13 VAR errors in the Premier League this season so far, and Super Bowl on Sunday, and the ridiculously expensive adverts around it include a very famous film reunion.
At long last, I bring new sunny skies for virtually all of us during the next few days. Find out the latest in the forecast coming up.
Lovely to have your company. I'm Eamonn Holmes.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Straight away, let's go to the Shadow Foreign Secretary, Priti Patel, who's got a lot to talk about today. And Priti, it's the Chagos Islands that's concerning you.
Good morning. Absolutely, Eamonn. And that is because this seems to be yet another betrayal of the British people by this terrible Labour government. And this is something that we've been absolutely vocal about for the last 4 months, trying to hold the government to account. And we constantly keep on hearing reports, by the way, from Mauritius, not even in Parliament, where we've been trying to hold them to account on why they giving this base away, Diego Garcia, why they conceding now rumours and reports are saying £18 billion to the Mauritius government to give away the Chagos Islands at a time when this government claimed that there's a financial crisis and they're taking winter fuel payments away from our pensioners, taxing our farmers, taxing working people and putting taxes up. So I think this government has a lot of questions to answer.
Number 10 are saying, though, they'd only agree to a deal that is in the national interest and protects our national security.
Well, that's utter nonsense for a start. And, you know, I think they're hiding behind this national security fig leaf, because in that building behind me in Parliament, I've been constantly asking the government for the evidence that this is in our national interest and it'll safeguard our national security. Because over the last 4 months, we cannot forget the fact that Starmer's government had been trying to railroad this deal through while Joe Biden was in the White House and before President Trump was inaugurated, because they knew that the Americans had run the slide rule over this terrible deal and questioned the whole issue of national security. We know that the Mauritians have closer relations and links with China. There's no guarantee that the Chinese will not actually put listening stations and put actually their national security apparatus on the archipelago and the surrounding islands. And this is a major threat to us all.
Is this
We live in an unstable world. Look at the state of the world right now. And it's important that we protect this military base, which dates back to 1966. It's a relation that the United Kingdom and the American government put together, and we need that base for our own national security and actually for the security of the Indo-Pacific region when we look at what is going on there and the level of threats and instability there.
Is it not hypocritical, though? You're talking about the importance of the islands and how angry you are about this deal when the negotiations for this deal started under the Tories. It all started with James Cleverly back in 2022. This is a deal that you conceived.
So I think, first of all, what's really important to note here that any discussions took place, you know, they were stopped by the last Conservative Foreign Secretary, David Cameron, for all the reasons that I have just, you know, communicated and explained.
But why were the conversations even taking place in the first place? Why were they even taking place in the first place? Why was this deal even on the table?
So, by way of background, there was an arbitrary court judgment that prompted those discussions and prompted what was the first review. So that is the background to this. And that was a few years ago. I think it might have been up to 4 years ago that arbitrary court decision came forward. But the point being is that it was the last Conservative government, the last Conservative Foreign Secretary, that shut this down for very, very good reasons. We live in a totally unstable world. We're seeing, you know, China is absolutely everywhere, and it's a threat to our domestic and national security here. As a former Home Secretary, I spent a lot of time responding to and trying to protect our country when it came to our adversaries, and this will just now create greater instability, and this is a terrible deal. And not only that, as I've said, this is a sovereign territory. It's part of the British Indian Overseas Territory. This is completely ignoring the needs of the Chagosian people and the Chagosian community. And as we're hearing now, there's anything on the table now between 9 to 18 billion pounds of British taxpayers' money. So British taxpayers would have to foot the bill and write this enormous cheque to the Mauritian government, and that is simply not right.
Well, whatever Keir Starmer decides upon, he's obviously, I would have imagined, having the permission of Donald Trump. I mean, they've had quite cosy conversations over the past week or so. I can't see him going ahead or doing something here that the Americans don't want.
Well, I think, Eamonn, this is a very, very important point. So, first of all, we know the Prime Minister has had one conversation, it sounded more like a courtesy call, with the new president. And, you know, we have a very important, long-standing and successful special relationship with our greatest and strongest ally, the United States. We do work with them and partner with them, and rightly so, on huge elements of national security. And we stand with America shoulder to shoulder on some of the big challenges in the world. So on that, of course, the US security apparatus will have to play a role in this decision. So that's why I think it's so terrible, and that's why I have, rightly so, been very aggressive with this government in terms of holding them to account as to why were they trying to railroad this deal through while Joe Biden was the outgoing president and without actually working with the incoming US administration. I think it's absolutely vital that our friends across the Atlantic, the new administration, you know, absolutely run the slide rule over this, do the scrutiny that's required, and, you know, and actually question this government as to why they're doing this, because this is a terrible deal.
Dame
It's
Priti
bad for
Patel, we're
Britain, it's bad
almost
for our
out of
national
time with
security.
you. I'm afraid. I just wanted to ask you about Lucy Letby. Sorry to interrupt you there, but Lucy Letby, that unprecedented intervention yesterday from medical experts that concluded that she has not murdered a single baby in her care. Do you think there needs to be a retrial in this case?
So I'll be very honest, I have not followed the full details of this, but babies have died. These poor children and their families have been absolutely devastated. We cannot overlook that. What I do think is important that all the right questions are asked within the NHS and even within the criminal justice system as to the conduct of the case and if there's new fresh evidence, and obviously this is something that others will have to look at. But right now, you know, we always have to think about the families and those poor children. It's been an absolutely devastating and shocking case that shook the country, and we cannot forget that.
When you were Home Secretary, of course, knife crime was very much on your agenda and on your mind, and nothing seems to have got any better. And I'm thinking, obviously, of the Sheffield school murder. A man's been charged with that today. What is the answer here? What is there anything we can be doing?
It's a terrible, terrible case, Eamonn. It's absolutely horrendous, and, you know, our hearts absolutely cry for the family and the murder of this poor child, 15-year-old. I was absolutely crystal clear about knife crime, about county lines, about, you know, tackling the scourge and the root causes. We really need to have to step up as a country now. We really do. This is, yes, with our police forces, but actually it's the permissive nature of having these weapons out in society. Young lives are being absolutely lost. Families are being shattered and devastated. We have to go back to having the national mission that I had when I was Home Secretary. It was a major policing priority. We were working hand in hand, making sure government resources went in to tackle the root causes, and it actually starts within communities and behaviours and stopping these root causes, and we have to go back to doing that all over again.
Thank you for your time and your comments, Deputy Foreign Secretary. We'll leave it there. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
Well, we're joined now.
Shadow Foreign Secretary, not Deputy.
Well, we're joined now by GB News political correspondent Catherine Forster, who joins us live now with reaction from Westminster. Morning, Catherine. What did you make of what Dame Priti Patel had to say?
Yes, good morning. Well, very strong words. Opposition parties, the Conservatives and Reform particularly, are absolutely weaponising this Chagos deal. Priti Patel there describing it as a betrayal of the British people. And I have to say that it's not only within the Conservatives and Reform that there are concerns. There are also concerns within the Labour Party itself, because, of course, Labour has, introduced inheritance tax for farmers, cut the winter fuel allowance for millions of pensioners, saving, £500 million here, £500 million there. And yet they are doing this deal to give $9 billion at a minimum. Some reports suggesting up to $18 billion to Mauritius, for effectively taking sovereignty of the Chagos Islands, which are currently belong to Britain, on the back of advisory advice from a United Nations court. So you can see that this is really quite a tough sell, but the government, they hit back pretty strongly against these reports of the amount of money doubling yesterday to 18 billion. They're steering away from that, but they're very coy about telling us the details of this deal. And really, a lot of what we know now is from the new Mauritian PM, who came in, looked at the old deal, said it wasn't good enough. So whatever is being offered now is clearly much better from Mauritius's perspective, which means not so good from Britain's perspective. And of course, ultimately, it's going to be up to the new US President, Donald Trump, to say whether this deal goes through or not.
OK, Catherine, there for us in Westminster. Thank you very much.
In a significant intervention in the Lucy Letby case, a panel of international medical experts has spoken out against the baby killer's convictions.
We did not find any murders. In all cases, death or injury were due to natural causes or just bad medical care. In our opinion, the medical evidence doesn't support murder in any of these babies. Just natural causes and bad medical care.
Well, Letby's lawyers outlined what they say is new evidence and called for her case to be reviewed for potential miscarriages of justice.
Lucy Letby is currently serving 15 whole life prison sentences for murdering 7 babies and attempting to murder 8 others.
Well, we're joined now by retired Detective Chief Inspector Mike Neville. Good to see you this morning, Mike. And what did you make of this significant intervention yesterday?
Quite incredible, really. And like Dame Priti Patel, I echo that concern for the families who were looking for closure on this and haven't had it. But the actual information from Dr. Lee and others like Professor Chase, that firstly, that documents and research had been cited in the court, but Dr. Lee had never been called there. The fact that Professor Chase had said that the defence agreed with the prosecution that 2 babies had died from being poisoned with insulin, and he said that those that simply wasn't right. The babies for their age had the right levels of insulin. So the fact that the defence counsel had failed, allegedly Lucy Letby, and then the very strong evidence that all these deaths could be attributed to poor care or inexperience, and it just throws up an absolute nightmare for British justice. We've seen, the post office failings, how people were convicted on so-called infallible evidence, and then we found out that the infallible evidence was totally wrong. So I think the public will be in a crisis of confidence about the courts and justice. But of course, this will have to be referred to the Criminal Case Review Commission, given the level of expertise and the number of experts who've come out and said, we've got really serious doubts about this matter.
It may take years to sort out, if at all. It's a right mess, Mike, but it has to be done, hasn't it? I mean, she can't, if there is significant doubt, and there's doubt in so many people's minds, maybe even your own here, as to the levels of her guilt now, it has to be sorted.
It has to be reviewed. I mean, she was convicted on circumstantial evidence, and when you looked at the data there, she was allegedly on duty on X amount of days, and X amount of days those babies were much more likely to die. That's what the case amounted to. And then people gave evidence that they'd seen her do this and that, but there was no direct evidence whatsoever that what she'd done. And as you've said, a right mess is the right description of it. We've had 2 trials, but what we've got to imagine here, it's almost like this has got to be really considered by independent experts again to say, look, what is this? The evidence is so specialist that for a jury, this is an argument, I suppose, for picking specialist jurors, because the evidence of this medical evidence would have been so specialised, very difficult for lay people like us to make a decision.
Yeah, really good point, Mike.
Thank you. Got to leave it there. Michael is a retired detective chief inspector.
Now, 17 minutes past 8, let's get a check on the weather now with Aidan.
Despite the morning rain, it'll be a nice, warm, cosy day ahead. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, a very good morning to you. Welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. There will be some showers in the north today, but actually fine elsewhere and increasingly sunny skies for all of us during the next few days. We're starting off with bright blue skies across much of England and Wales, just some patchy cloud here and there. Bright as well in the north, but we do have some showers for northern England as well as parts of Scotland, especially towards the west and north of Scotland, along with a brisk breeze. Those showers will be falling as snow over the mountains, but they do ease later. And in between the showers, there will be some sunny spells. Temperatures of 6 or 7 in the north, 9 or 10 further south. Just some fair weather cloud building through the day. Otherwise, a beautiful end to the day for many of us. One of those crisp but bright winter's days, and more of them to come over the next couple of days. Plenty of sunshine, or at least clear skies, for eastern and southern Scotland as we go into the evening. Some patchy cloud there and a few more showers to go for the Highlands, but otherwise they are tending to fade away. Clear skies for Northern Ireland and extensively across England and Wales, and of course with light winds and clear skies overnight. Temperatures will fall away quickly. A widespread frost forming up and down the country, although I think the northern half of Scotland tending to stay too breezy for a widespread frost. Nevertheless, it's dry and it's clear for the vast majority, so temperatures dipping to -1 Celsius in towns and cities and a few degrees below that in sheltered parts. A cold start to the day on Thursday then, but plenty of sunshine first thing. A few freezing fog patches here and there. They may persist into the afternoon, but they'll be very localised. For the vast majority, it's simply a sunny day. It's going to continue to feel cold, but with light winds in the sunshine, pleasant enough. Temperatures reaching 7 or 8 Celsius. Continuing to be breezy in the far north, but dry and bright nevertheless.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
What you don't realise is that Miss Ellie goes somewhat deranged during certain items like the weather there, because there's theme music attached to it, and you like to sing.
And it's so catchy. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
So
when you're
catchy.
here 5 days a week, it does. Yeah, gets in your bones.
From being so catchy to so desirable, the Great British Giveaway, 2 chances to win. Have a go.
The Great British Giveaway is officially 1 year old, and we have a birthday treat for you. We're giving you not 1, but 2 chances to win this month, with 2 prize bundles that include an incredible £10,000 in tax-free cash. But that's not all. You'll also get a brand new iPhone 16 and a £500 shopping voucher to spend at your favourite store. So why not be extra lucky this month? For a chance to win an iPhone, vouchers and £10,000 in cash, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB11 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 7th of March. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
Estelle, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
This was thought to be a Ruskin. Ruskin was a very considerable polymath, an artist as well as many other things. So, do you know why it was submitted for reappraisal? Was there a bit of a suspicion that it had been misidentified?
No, as you say, you know, it's a service that Christie's offer. You can submit an artwork that you have, so anyone can submit it and request an estimate, and then the auction house's appraisal service allows you space as well to describe it and ask for evaluation. And Christie's sort of looked at it behind the sheet of dirty old glass and recognised a sort of Turner-esque mood and feel and ambience about it. And because there was this close relationship between Ruskin and Turner, which is fascinating, we'll come on to that shortly, but they sort of felt, well, the brushstrokes are very strong, the line is very economic, and the colour of the palette seems to be rather Turner-esque. And then they called in a specialist paper historian who confirmed that actually the paper that was used was one that Turner favoured himself. So yes, it was originally considered to be by Ruskin, but then we discovered something more magnificent. And don't forget, what's really interesting, now it's for sale. The lucky buyer is not just buying a picture. The lucky buyer is buying a life story, a relationship that actually changed the course of our history because of the relationship between Ruskin and Turner themselves.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, Will, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Just to reiterate to you that within the past hour, a 15-year-old boy has been charged with the murder of Harvey Wilgus, who was stabbed to death at the school in Sheffield on Monday.
Yep, that's according to the Crown Prosecution Service. Well, in a statement released by police, Harvey's family said their lives would never be the same again, and they are utterly heartbroken at the loss of their beautiful boy.
There you see floral tributes, which are continuing to be laid outside the schools. We're now joined by our Yorkshire and Humberside reporter, Anna Riley, who's there. And has school returned yet, Anna, or what is the atmosphere like?
No, Eamonn, the school is still closed. There's still a police presence on the school grounds. People are still coming to lay floral tributes. You'll see some of them just behind me here. People are bringing flowers, they're bringing cards and balloons and just coming to pay their respects to 15-year-old Harvey Wilgus, who was a much loved member of the school community. And from all these tributes that have been paid, it is just clear how well liked he was as a pupil here at All Saints Catholic High School in Sheffield. But so tragically, his life being cut so short on Monday afternoon after the fatal stabbing at the school, with police called to the scene at around 12:17. As you've mentioned, a 15-year-old boy who cannot be named for legal reasons has now been officially charged with Harvey's murder. He will be appearing at Sheffield Youth Court later today with those charges as well. He's also been charged with possession of a bladed article and one count of affray. And in a statement released by police, Harvey's family said their lives would never be the same again and that they were utterly heartbroken. In the statement, they said, "We have lost a beloved son, brother, grandson, cousin, nephew, and most importantly, a best friend to all. Harvey will be forever known for being caring, loving, and a funny young man. At this difficult time, we ask you to please respect our privacy Harvey as we grieve as a family. Harvey's sister also paid tribute to him online. She said, "My heart is broken into a million pieces," and said, "I love you so much, Harvey. Hug your loved ones a little closer tonight, because I wish I could." Now, All Saints Catholic High School have also described Harvey as an immensely popular student who had a smile who would light up the room. They added, "Harvey was young, he was precious, he was loved." And to further pay tribute, people will continue to come and lay floral tributes and cards, but on Saturday, there will also be a mass at the local church for people to come and pay further respects to Harvey, a life just gone far too soon and certainly a well-loved member of the community.
Thank you, Anna.
Thanks.
Appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Just
And,
heartbreaking, isn't it? You can't even imagine. A
well,
15-year-old went to school on Monday and didn't come back.
But since Monday, we've been talking about how could this happen? Could this have happened at our own schools when we were younger and whatever? And it just is unbelievable.
Yeah, it
but
is.
It is not unique. I mean, there was an incident at that school last week in which the police were called.
Yeah.
And we're now going to go to Scotland. Kirkintilloch High School, staff there are to strike today. And what are they doing? Why are they striking?
They're striking over a culture of abuse and violence from pupils. It's really shocking. We're joined now by Tony Maguire, who is, of course, our Scotland reporter. Tony, what's going on there this morning?
Yes, good morning. Well, very much a similar story, albeit at a very much earlier stage than the one we witnessed or heard from Anna there. I'm here outside Kirkintilloch High School, where staff today from the NAS UWT Teachers Union are beginning strike action. Now, as you'll notice, there's no picket line behind me. That's because teachers are remaining in school and they will be in class, as far as we can tell, as normal. However, as you may know, if you know any teachers in your life, that teachers take on many other duties, such as covering extra classes for absent teachers, clubs and school trips. Well, they're the activities that teachers will not be participating in beyond today. Now, the teaching union says that this is because in those instances that pupils have no pre-established relationship with those teachers, and therefore they become what you might say is high-risk situations. The teachers here say that the school has shown no effort to curb a lack of consequences for pupils who show them unnecessary alleged violence and verbal abuse. Now, speaking on behalf of the teachers union, Mike Corbett said a culture where there are no consequences for poor behaviour is not setting pupils up well for adult life. Now, there are multiple teachers' unions up here in Scotland, the other being the Educational Institute of Scotland, EIS, and while they're not taking part officially directly in today's action, they have been urged not to step in for those teachers if they are so asked. Now, this is all part of a much larger picture that's been unfolding, I guess you could say, across the UK, but at least here in Scotland in 2023 there was a huge spurt of violence in schools, forcing the Scottish Government to have a summit where they discovered that 2 out of 3 teachers suffered verbal abuse, 2 out of 5 had seen physical altercations between pupils, and even 3 out of 5 had actually been the subject of that physical aggression. Well, the teachers here certainly hoping to take a stand, but as of course we've been hearing from the headlines this week, and in fact it seems, I think you can forgive me for saying for far too long now, violence in schools is becoming an epidemic up and down the country. And it's something that all unions in Scotland are obviously extremely keen to protect their teachers from. We've also heard from the council. Now, they have said that they are, of course, speaking with the union and the school in order to resolve this matter, and have said that they're fully engaging with the management and the union staff to try and come to a resolution. But indeed, from today, teachers staying in school but not taking on any duties to finally take a stand so that this school doesn't experience what some others have that we've been in the headlines this week.
Tony, I'm obsessed by this whole issue, and by the looks of you, it's not too long since you left school. But my friend, could I ask you, going back to when you were at school, was violence against teachers or was language against teachers, would that have been common or not?
I think I will say it's 20 years ago since I left school, Eamonn, right? So it's not, but I'll take that compliment.
Wow.
Thanks very much. I would say back in those days there wasn't anywhere near the kind of violence that we hear about today. And some obviously accusations out there from child psychologists, etc., have pointed towards social media, an argument I know we're all used to. But I would say back in the day in the south side of Glasgow, no, respect from the teachers was indeed earned and given when I was at school, at least.
Yeah. Thanks, Tony. Just nice to get a 20 years ago. Look at him.
He looks great, doesn't
His
he?
wee bones look hardly formed, and he's 20 years ago we're talking about there. Thanks,
Oh,
Tony.
look, we're embarrassing now. Thanks, Tony.
In my day at school, I mean, one of the reasons violence and things didn't happen, disrespect against teachers, was that we were physically punished.
Wow. Yeah.
We would have been caned, strapped, punched, hit, ears pulled, whatever it happened to be, and that was all by the teachers. But you just knew you did not cross that line. I mean, a very formal, very strict school I went to, and the teachers, and we were taught by a lot of priests, they got tremendous respect as a result of it. But I assume teachers now don't have the ability to physically do anything against kids.
Well, they don't have the ability to do anything physical, but what has changed with children as well? I mean, when we went to school, we were terrified of our teachers. They had our respect because we were scared of them, and they ruled the roost. What's changed? Why aren't children fearful anymore?
Well, there's your question. Why aren't children fearful? Have your say. Back with Paul and the sport right after this.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding in Perth and Kinross. The A989 is closed along Tay Street in Perth again today because of flooding. On the M8 in North Lanarkshire, the westbound exit at junction 7A for the westbound A725 is partly blocked by a breakdown causing queues. The M6 in Lancashire is closed northbound between junctions 32 and 33 from the M55 to the A6 south of Lancaster after an accident, with queues from junction 31 at Samlesbury. On the M62 in West Yorkshire, there's a lane closed westbound after an accident between junctions 23 and 22 from Huddersfield to Rishworth Moor. Queues from junction 24 at Ainley Top. On the M27 in Hampshire, 2 out of 4 lanes are closed eastbound where someone's broken down between junctions 9 and 10 from Fareham to Wickham, causing queues. And train services in Devon are suspended between Exeter St David's and Exmouth after a train broke down. And that's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website gbnews.com.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes and Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Martin Daubney. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mr. Paul, big Carabao Cup game tonight, and Newcastle sitting pretty against Arsenal.
Yeah, they are. So they're 2-0 up at the moment. So this is the second leg of the semi-final. The other semi-final is tomorrow night, Spurs v Liverpool, and Spurs are 1 up in that one. So Newcastle 2, Arsenal 0 at the moment. Second leg tonight. You know what, Eamonn? I've got a funny feeling Arsenal are going to come back and win this game. I just do. Do you?
No. No, it's a Newcastle. That's worth a goal to them.
I've just got a funny feeling. What about you, Ellie?
I can't say that about
You can't. OK, fair enough. Well,
I'm surprised that you can.
I just can.
You're very, very generous, I think.
Well, I don't know whether it's a generous thing, but I also want to mention Simona Halep. Simona Halep.
Tennis player.
Tennis player, 4-year doping ban, which was reduced to 9 months. Injuries she's had. She played at the Transylvania Open. You're familiar that there was an open tennis tournament in Transylvania? Yeah. So they had the Transylvania Open, and she got knocked out, knee pain, 33 years old, 2 Grand Slam wins. She's decided to call it a day, and she's retired. Who do you think is the current holder of the Transylvania?
Of the Transylvanian.
Who do you think? They scored 6 points to 4. Who?
Dracula.
Really? Well, let's have a look. I'll show you a picture of who is the current... There we are.
Oh, it is Dracula.
Look at that. There he is. There he is with the tennis. There we are. That was when he won the Transylvania Open last year.
Do you know, mate, he was the most interesting guy. I sat in St Paul's Cathedral at a carol concert with him, and we just talked the whole way
There would have been crosses everywhere. He would have been like...
Everywhere. And he was so entertaining, so funny. Do you know he was... he's royalty. He's related to Italian royalty. And
a count.
Yeah, he was a member of the Special Forces as well.
Christopher Lee was.
Christopher Lee was,
Right.
yeah. So he's so amazing.
Ever see The Wicker Man?
Amazing guy.
Oh, it's a scary.
Right, so...
Finally, Super Bowl.
Yes.
Super Bowl happened, Super Bowl 59. It's the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Philadelphia Eagles on Sunday, but a lot of people are more interested in the adverts that are in between...
But if you show the advert now, does that mean they would watch it then on the day of the match?
No, it actually means I get paid about £5 million and for doing it. But so this will be on during the match. So they get loads of celebrities. $8 million for an advert to go into the Super Bowl. So that's where everybody wants to put their adverts in it. Now, this is a good one, and this is going to be shown on Sunday, and we've got a preview of this. Meg Ryan, Billy Crystal, When Harry Met Sally. So this is like 89?
In the cafe.
The famous scene.
Yeah.
So I'm now thinking this could be a bit racy, but should we go for it?
It will be a bit racy.
OK. Be ready for this. Here we are. Here's the...
I can't believe they let us back in this place.
Why?
Hello?
Nobody remembers that.
Something wrong?
Not doing it.
No good?
Nothing.
Oh, we can't have that. What's happening? Here we go.
Oh my God.
Oh, boy.
So good. It's just.
Oh, this one's real.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Lunch and a show, huh? How about that?
That is a sandwich. I'll have what she's having.
There you go. The famous line at the end. It probably, if you're listening on the radio right now, that's the recreation of them in When Harry Met Sally back from '89 for a Hellman's ad.
It's genius, really.
Isn't it great?
Yeah,
and they have
very
someone
good.
saying, "I'll have what she's having." It was an old woman.
Sydney Sweeney.
He
says it in that one.
Oh, is that who that is?
That's Sydney Sweeney.
Oh, I see.
The it girl of the moment.
Well, there you
Very
go.
Good.
It all ties up nicely.
They've spent a few bob on that.
A lot of money personally for her because she's so antisocial.
You met her, right?
Oh, you'll not forget meeting her.
Oh, really?
She shouldn't ever be allowed to give interviews.
See, the bit I get is when it's not so much the interviews when you meet them before. Was she unfriendly before with that, or not at all?
Yeah, she's a complete sort of recluse, no personality, doesn't want to talk to anybody. Genuinely, I think, is phobic about being interviewed. And then she does it, and that's it. And then she goes.
And how was the interview?
Yes. She did that, and finished talking to me, and she did. Yes.
Did she? Was she doing all that business?
Did all that business.
Yeah.
Thank you very much indeed for all that business.
I'll have
Paul.
what you're having.
Much appreciated. Incidentally, if you want to head off for some sunshine somewhere, and you're saying where could that be, have a look.
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean all clear skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hi there. If you're looking for some winter sun, you will find a little in the Greek islands, although it will be windy. Fine in Italy and across much of Iberia, although it is going to turn more unsettled through Iberia and, in fact, Central Europe as these weather systems move in during the next few days. But for Thursday, at least, plenty of sunshine for Italy. We've got that strong wind blowing through the Greek islands and a few showers associated with it. Otherwise, largely fine. And then the more unsettled weather arrives at the weekend.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Dubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
People living with obesity are people, and they deserve the right for treatment and care as much as anyone else. What we need to understand is that obesity is a chronic condition, or a disease, as some people call it. It's not a choice. And this is the bit that people really struggle with, is that people think this is a lifestyle choice and people have done this to themselves. What we now know is the science and the evidence shows us that this isn't a choice. People have genetic predispositions for living with obesity. What we need to do is be a bit more compassionate and caring to people that live with obesity and support them to make healthier choices, not actually just discriminate and tell them that they're doing something wrong when, you know, if I had asthma, for instance, you wouldn't be saying the same thing to me there. But then it's exactly the same.
Usually, if you're going for an operation of some form or other, there'll be often there is a criteria. So my mother, she had a knee operation. They wanted to make sure her blood pressure was right and all these things. This is, I mean, to hear somebody say that obesity isn't a choice just because you've got genetic predisposition to it, it's just exactly why people seem to be legitimizing being overweight. Ozempic has proved that people are overweight because they eat too much. Because Ozempic tells you to stop eating, it makes you think that you've eaten and makes you feel full, so you don't eat. You may be predisposed to anything, but you also have a large percentage of responsibility to make sure that doesn't happen. So absolutely, it is in the patient's best interests, because if you're overweight, it'll take you longer to heal. You're more likely to have complications, the same if you smoke, and also the outcomes are usually better. So for a smoker, if you quit, say 4 weeks before surgery, you're 25%, your risk is lower of respiratory complications. So this is literally, of course it's discriminatory, because you have to decide, you have to prioritise the people that are likely to survive the operations.
GB News, the People's Channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Now, the first thing we do, we've got Claire Muldoon, we've got Lewis Oakley, and they've got stories that are making the news in the papers, whatever. And Claire's adding her own personal touch to this one, because you've got pictures, and we're going to see, these are pictures of a classroom, and this classroom is known to you? And we've just done a report from Scotland where teachers are going on strike in Kirkintilloch there today about violence in the classroom. So let's see your pictures here. Tell us what.
So these are pictures taken of a primary school class on Friday, and it was the kids that did the damage.
Right, so this wasn't hoodlums on a Friday night or a Saturday or vandalism. So they did that in their classroom?
They did. They did.
For people listening on the radio, what can we say?
So we could see utter carnage. There's Lego all over the floor. Every single piece of furniture has been pulled apart. There is fluid on the ground. There's paints everywhere.
If that happened in my day, they would be in school all weekend cleaning that up.
Yeah. Well, the children didn't clean that up. They had to get cleaners in, and the poor staff that were responsible for the children had to clean that up as well in their own time. And it's just abominable.
So what happened, Claire? These children just ran riot.
They just didn't have the ability to equip themselves with their emotions and deal with it, whatever there was going on in their lives at that time. But unfortunately, that's very prevalent. And we had the report from Kirkintilloch, and I went to school in Bishop Briggs, actually, and lived in Milton of Campsie, which is right next door to Kirkintilloch. And if staff are feeling that bad, if they're feeling that unsafe, then I'm sorry, we have to support them. Years ago, it was the parents that were the primary educators of children, schools the secondary, and it was a symbiotic relationship between the two. We had to underpin the staff, have respect for them, and give them the role that they had to educate our children. We, as parents, I believe, it's our role to make sure that the staff were supported in absolutely everything.
Right.
And we're seeing this absolute dereliction of duty with children being looked after by the state.
I'm quite taken aback by this, Lewis.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I think what can we do, right? Because I think this is the idea is like, well, so this is my thing, I actually think it comes to the parents. So I know a lot of kids these days are just suspended, bad behaviour, get out, and it makes it all worse. I actually think it's weird in this country you have to pass a test to drive a car, but not to have a child. And I actually do think that if your child is displaying bad behaviour like this, actually the parents should be brought in for mandatory lessons on how to discipline.
This is actually worse.
And that should be the way it's done. And so then if your child comes home with, Mom, Dad, I've been naughty in school, enjoy your 6 hours of training that you've got to now have, I think that would...
How old would the kids be who did that?
They were primary school children under the age of 10.
Right. Well, I mean... what can I say? We would have been so frightened. When I was at primary school, they used straps on us if there was anything you did wrongly or whatever. That was... So you had that sort of physical violence. What was that called? Corporal punishment?
Yeah, corporal punishment.
Not capital punishment.
Corporal punishment.
You would shoot them a capital punishment.
Against the corp.
But obviously, Lewis, my point is, teachers obviously don't have the same authority where children are frightened of them.
Yeah. Well, they can't now. They you know, and for the right reasons. You know, children should not be being hit by teachers. You might say that worked fine, but
I'm not saying that, and I think we should park the corporal punishment. I think the issues here as well is that local authorities are being given local parentis, i.e. they're supposed to be safeguarding some children that have issues, OK, that end up doing things like this. But it's not working because the local authorities and the SNP, particularly in Scotland, have diminished the role of education and diminished the role of the ability for the parents and the local authority to have any rights. It's this mealy-mouthed, lefty-wokey, oh, let the child be a child. Well, I'm sorry, it doesn't work, and sometimes information given to children is not age-appropriate, and it's not appropriate full stop. There's reasons why children can't watch 15-rated films, 18-rated films, because they're not suitable. They are children. They don't process information in the same way.
Do you think it could be the role of social media, as Tony Maguire was referencing in his report there, that children are exposed to violence on their screens so young, but they're bringing it into school, as Claire shows, under the age of 10?
Potentially, but you could argue that back in the day when teachers were striking them, they were exposed to real violence then. So I don't really know. I think that we need to not over-exaggerate here. There needs to be a clear line of authority.
Those pictures.
There needs to be a clear line of authority in the classroom. There needs to be a clear line of authority in the home. And parents need to figure out how to discipline their children and make sure that they uphold standards when they go outside. I mean, I find it weird because I do think, especially when I was growing up, the threat was, don't do that in the house, we'll tell the teachers at school. So you were more, oh my God, that's going public.
It'd be the double threat, wouldn't it? You'd have the threat of the teachers telling off, and then you'd know you'd get home to be disciplined by your parents as well.
Yeah, so I think there needs to be some lining up there, and probably there are parents that are going around saying, oh, I can't believe you've said this to my child, can we get them out of that detention? And maybe that needs to stop, and we need to all be more aligned on, no, these are the standards, if you're in school,
well, look,
that's what needs to be followed.
When you're a parent and you apply for a school, you sign the application form, and under the application form, it's almost like a contract. And I can't stand parents that will always go back, well, you know, you did that to my wee Johnny, or you said that to wee Mary, you looked at her the wrong way. Why is she not in my netball team? Why isn't he doing that? And how dare you look in the lunchbox? I'm sorry. You're not a teacher. You've handed your kid over to the best educator that you can get because you applied to that school.
But I'd like to know more about those pictures we've seen. First of all, you know, primary school kids, they make a mess. They just do. You know, were they asked to
Nobody makes a mess like that.
Were they asked to come back in? And if they weren't, then I would have said to the parents, come in and clean it up. Look at what your child's done.
What I think is there's got to be a consequence to that. There's got to be some sort of punishment or retribution on behalf of the school towards whatever kids did that or thought that that was OK when they're 10 years of age or whatever. But Lewis, all this is ahead of you as a parent.
I know.
But you know,
well, I've been
listen, I have 4 kids and they all went through school, and I never had trouble with one of them at school or bad reports about them, you know, at that sort of level.
Me neither.
Yeah, you know, so your kids, I think they copy what they see at home and they know what acceptable behaviour is. And then there's that sort of business.
Yeah, I'm not too worried that my kids would ever do that because they know that there would be consequences for it. In fact, the big thing at the moment in the house is that my 4-year-old has got a toy that she really loves, and I keep saying that's going in the bin if you don't do this, do that.
Yes.
And I've been told that's too much. She's 4 years old, and you know I should stop threatening this cuddly toy. But it's getting things done.
Getting things
Maybe we got too soft on parenting. Let's think. gbnews.com/you'll say. Claire, this story about taxpayer cash being spent on PlayStations.
I mean, this is ridiculous. Local authorities, we're told now, have not got enough for council tax payments, and our council tax is going to rise. Do you know why it's going to rise? For one of the things, because they're giving PlayStations to people awaiting their asylum claims being cleared in this country.
Claire, the big problem is taking the people in the first place and paying for their accommodation. I actually, and you may think I'm wrong with this, but I think there is an onus to provide them with some sort of basic entertainment, may be the wrong word, but, you know, keeping people interested.
In some form of engagement, to keep it a leisure facility going, perhaps. But I would far rather they have the time to swim in a swimming pool or something like that, be more active, instead of playing games that it's a one-on-one and it's unarmed combat, really. It's ridiculous.
Thinking about the taxpayer here, though. So I've just had to pay my tax bill for all of the extra work I do outside of my main job. Basically, the lot's gone back to HMRC. May as well have not bothered getting out of bed, doing podcasts and news reviews. All gone. And so you think, oh, my God, I've had to give back all that money. Hopefully, at least it's going to schools and roads. And then you think it's going to PlayStations and football. It's like, it's a double hit. It's like, I may as well not have bothered working, but that money's not even going to something that's benefiting.
The tax issue for the whole country, and indirect tax gets me, you know, VAT, what's the hell that's all about? And so many taxes, so many. And the other rip-off is these cameras on roads, motorways, you know, speed cameras. There's not, I don't believe that's about safety.
No,
that's a revenue collector. And there's just everything we seem to do, we're charged for it in this country. And someday we're going to run out of money, end off.
It's an extraction economy. They're just extracting money out of us and we're not getting any benefit for it. And you're disincentivizing people to work. Like, what is the point? At some point you say, well, what is the point? I'd be better off just not working.
Because we have to have a roof over our head, whether it be renting or mortgages, and unfortunately that's a prohibitive expense. Shelter is your fundamental right.
Well, you'd never hear me sitting saying with you two, what is the point? But we've got to the end of the lollipop now, and we've got to say goodbye to you. So have a good day. Really appreciate your contribution and your pictures and that insight there that we saw of the school. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you both.
And if you want to get involved in the conversation, any of the stories that we've been talking about this morning, you can, gbnews.com/your say. Now, do stay with us because we're going to be talking to the Environment Secretary, Steve Reed, at the top of the hour.
latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In Perth and Kinross, the A989 remains closed each way along Tay Street in Perth because of flooding. The M6 in Lancashire is closed northbound between junctions 32 and 33 from the M55 to the A6 south of Lancaster after an accident. There are long delays with queues from junction 31 at Samlesbury, delays too on the M65 and routes through Preston as you divert. On the M62 in West Yorkshire, there's a lane closed westbound after an accident between junctions 23 and 22 from Huddersfield to Rishworth Moor, with queues from junction 24 at Ainley Top. On the A1 in Bedfordshire, there are long southbound delays from Biggleswade to Baldock because of roadworks. In Hertfordshire, the A10 is partly blocked southbound by an accident between Cheshunt and Waltham Cross, causing delays. And on the M5 in Devon, there's a lane closed southbound where someone's broken down between junctions 27 and 28 from Tiverton to Columpton, causing queues.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
We're giving you not one, but two chances to win this month, with two prize bundles that include an incredible £10,000 in tax-free cash. But that's not all. You'll also get a brand new iPhone 16 and a £500 shopping voucher to spend at your favourite store. So why not be extra lucky this month? For a chance to win an iPhone, vouchers and £10,000 in cash, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB11 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 7th of March. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
That's a good point. He's lying. Maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Good morning. The missed chances to stop the Nottingham killer exposed in a shocking report.
NHS and police failings are blamed for paving the way for Valdo Calocane to brutally kill 3 people in Nottingham.
The victims' families prepared to call for a public inquiry today as they speak out.
Well, despite a history of violence and intimidation, the mental health care that Valdo Calocane received in the community was little to non-existent. He was off his medication and never saw a single GP or mental health worker in the 9 months before the killings.
Thank you, Mark. More from Mark shortly. A 15-year-old has been charged with the murder of Harvey Wilgoose. He was the Sheffield schoolboy stabbed to death on Monday.
The cracks in the Lucy Letby case become gaping holes as world-leading experts cast their doubts. Here's what Shadow Foreign Secretary Priti Patel had to say on the matter earlier.
Babies have died. These poor children and their families have been absolutely devastated. What I do think is important that all the right questions are asked within the NHS and even within the criminal justice system.
Chagos Islands, what's going on? Well, the Prime Minister has been accused of giving in to Mauritius to push a deal through despite President Trump's reservations.
Yes, Priti Patel has described this as a betrayal of the British people. We know it's going to cost more than the original £9 billion. How much more is unclear. And of course, will Trump veto the whole thing?
We'll take over the Gaza Strip.
and we will do a job with it too. We'll own it.
Donald Trump's Gaza takeover. The US president shocks onlookers as he announces an ambitious plan to forever change the Middle East.
Meet all of you. My name's Catherine, and I'm going to come on your school trip today.
The Princess of Wales delights school children as she joins them on a very special trip to envisage and take in and appreciate art.
At long last, I bring news of sunny skies for virtually all of us during the next few days. Find out the latest in the forecast coming up.
Oh yes, sunny skies. We'll have a bit of that. Hopefully you'll have a bit of us until 9:30. I'm Eamonn Holmes.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast.
We had Mark White there at the top of the programme. We're going to go back to him now as there's been an independent review into triple killer Valdo Calocane and it has condemned clear failings at the hands of the NHS and the police.
Yes, it's an NHS report that found that medical professionals were not allowed to visit Calocane alone over safety concerns. It also reveals that the killer avoided injections of his antipsychotic medications by claiming he was scared of needles.
Quite ironic, isn't it? You know, a man who murders, slaughters people with a knife, and he's afraid of needles. Mark White, let's go to Mark to hear what he has to say about all of this. Mark, good morning.
Well, the families, Eamonn, will be gathering here at this lawyer's office in central London to hold a news conference in about an hour and a half's time to give their reaction to what they knew already, really, that there were multiple failings by these mental health care workers and the organisations that should have been in place to ensure that this man was properly assessed, properly medicated, and was not posing a threat to the wider community. The families, of course, have called for a public inquiry. The government has said that it is going to grant that wish for a judge-led inquiry. It's just currently assessing the terms of that inquiry, and it will happen in the months ahead at some point. The details are still to come out. We might learn a bit more from the government today. But as far as Valdo Calocane is concerned, this is a man who first came to the attention of the medical services in terms of his mental health back in May of 2020 after a violent episode with his neighbours. And then over a period of more than 2 years, he was admitted to hospital sectioned for mental health treatment on 4 separate occasions. Again, all following acts of violence and intimidation, much of it against his neighbours. There was a very significant serious assault against the police. Those mental health care workers and psychiatrists who were dealing with Valdo Calocane knew exactly the level of the threat that this man posed. They said as much in some of their assessments, and in fact, when it came to actually visiting him on the rare occasions where he was visited and assessed by those mental health workers in the community, they would not go alone. They would be double-manned because of the potential risk. But while they assessed a risk to themselves and took mitigation to guard against any repercussions of a visit to this violent individual, what they didn't seem to do was assess actually in any proper way the very significant risk that this man posed to the wider community. There was big issues over his lack of willingness to take his medication. When he was sent to hospital on 4 separate occasions, he was compliant. He took his medication, but back out in the community, he just wouldn't comply and take that medication. They had talked about giving him a psychotic drug, which was a longer-lasting drug. It would be administered through an injection. He was not happy with an injection. The mental health authorities seem to acquiesce to that particular desire of him not to receive this longer-term psychotic medication. And then after a while, when he was in the community, not making contact with GPs or mental health workers, they eventually discharged him from their care, effectively, for 9 months in the community, deteriorating all of the while, getting increasingly more paranoid and violent, before then committing these horrific crimes on the 19th of June 2023.
Mark, you can't even imagine how painful this is for those victims' families, hearing that all of those red flags were missed, that all those warning signs were there and nothing was done. They are calling for this full statutory inquiry. How would that work, and what would they be hoping to find out through that inquiry?
Well, they are hoping, against hope, I think, that lessons will be learned. But, you know, they're not all that optimistic at the end of the day, but they say they've got to try. They've got to try to do something in the hope that eventually something might stick and something might make a difference. But if you look at the history here, it doesn't give them much hope. The NHS providers who were looking after Valdo Calocane were looking after many other people, of course, with psychosis in the community as well. And there were 15 separate incidents of other people under the care of this NHS provider between 2019 and 2023, who went on to commit very serious violent crimes, including homicide. So you know, multiple occasions where whatever the care was that was being provided was not enough, perhaps shortcomings and failings along the lines of what we've seen with Valdo Calocane. And we've heard it time and time again. We heard it, of course, after Axel Rudicabana carried out those horrific murders in Southport, how the authorities there would learn their lessons. But, you know, history continues, sadly, to repeat itself.
Keep us posted throughout the day, Mark. Appreciate it.
Well, we're joined now by Secretary of State for Environment, Steve Reid. Good to see you this morning, Mr. Reid. And I know you're at Ipswich Tidal Barrier this morning talking about flood defences. We'll chat to you about that in just a moment. But we are talking about Valdo Calocane. I'm sure you were just hearing from Mark White there about this shocking report from the NHS about Valdo Calocane and the litany of failures in his care. He was discharged prematurely from his inpatient stays. He wasn't taking his medication. The NHS were aware of that. His family warned repeatedly that he posed a danger to society if something was not done. This is another person, same as Axel Rudicabana just a few weeks ago, as we heard, a violent person with mental health problems who slipped through the cracks. How many more people have to die before something is done?
Well, it's absolutely shocking. And first of all, I'd like to express again my sympathies to the families of those people who were so horrifically murdered by this individual. And of course, we have to learn the lessons from what's gone wrong. It looks like every single stage of his what should have been his care, there was failure. And we have to understand what that failure was. We've got the report today, which points to many of those failures. There will be learnings and lessons from that will be applied widely. But my colleague Wes Streeting, the Health Secretary, has said he will order a further inquiry so that we can learn every single lesson and apply it. So what went wrong in this case can never go wrong, because it is a catalogue of catastrophic errors that led to the avoidable deaths of these 3 people.
Steve, there you are in Ipswich, and I was hoping for a better picture than we've got here, because you're at the Ipswich Tidal Barrier. It'd be lovely to see a tidal barrier and what it actually does. But this sounds like some piece of construction that you're standing at.
Yeah, I'm sorry you can't see it, Eamonn. The lights, the sun's come up behind me now, and so I'm a bit silhouetted and you can't see out of the window behind me. But if you could see, you would see the flood, the tidal defences, and that is protecting Ipswich from rising tides that otherwise would be damaging people in this city. And of course, we're seeing flooding, we're seeing rising tides all across the country now. 1 in 6 British people live in a home that is at risk of flooding. I've stood on people's doorsteps when their homes have been flooded and had them crying on my shoulder because they've lost everything that they'd worked for all their lives. It's tragic to see. It's traumatic for those people, for what they have to go through. Now, under the previous government, our flood defences have got into the worst condition on record. That's a dereliction of duty. What I'm announcing today is an increase in funding over the next 2 years to £2.65 billion. That's more than a quarter up on what was being spent under the previous government, and it allows us to invest more money in building new flood defences, but importantly, upgrading and maintaining those flood defences that already exist, but that have been falling into disrepair, because I do not want to have any more people crying on my shoulder when we could have done more to support them from the impact of flooding.
No, so £2.65 billion investment in order to protect British homes from flooding. I'm sure many people would agree that's good use of money. Many people saying this morning that this deal with the Chagos Islands is a bad deal. Reports that it's gone up to £18 billion now because payments are going to be made in line with inflation. What is this Labour government thinking? This is a bad deal financially. This is a bad deal in terms of our security, and it's a bad deal in terms of geopolitically and the situation that we're at in the world. Why would we be giving over such a strategic island at this time and at this place?
Well, the figures that we saw yesterday are inaccurate. There are negotiations underway. They began under the previous government. They hadn't concluded, so the future of that military base, which is essential to our security, but also to our allies' security, that base was not secure. The negotiations are continuing to make sure we can secure it. We've also asked the new US administration for their view. They have a very strong interest in this. And before negotiations conclude, we'll want to hear their views as well, and that will be incorporated. But we need to let the negotiations continue. We'll see where they get to, but the government's overriding priority, quite rightly, will be our national security.
Yeah. Well, those figures are from the Mauritian Prime Minister. So when will Downing Street be open about the figures that we're talking about, this Chagos Islands deal? Because the Tories this morning are calling it a betrayal of the British people. It's been described in the papers as national sabotage.
Well, it was the Tories that started the negotiations that this government has picked up and is having to conclude. So if the Tories are criticising anybody, they are criticising themselves. But you'd expect that because they're all over the shop on this issue, as they are on many other issues. This government will conclude these negotiations. It's, you know, when you've got sensitive negotiations underway, other interested parties, including the US administration as well, you don't reveal your hand midway through. So we need to allow these negotiations to conclude. The government will then be fully open and transparent about what's going on. But just to reassure you again, many of the figures we were hearing yesterday, extraordinary figures, are wildly inaccurate.
Well, the Ipswich tidal barrier, Steve, you're going to be a busy man. I mean, announcing this as a major project, that just will mean so much to Ipswich and people around the country where the skies are constantly grey and it rains, and I know farming comes under your remit as well, and things just couldn't be worse. Those fields are just flooded and crops rot because of all of that. So you're going to be really, really busy trying to sort those out. I would say rain would be our biggest problem in this country now, moving ahead.
Well, it's one of them. There are many challenges, but I'm really pleased that you just referred to farming and fields, rural communities as well, because farms, many of them found their fields underwater last year. Crops that they had invested an awful lot of money in were simply washed away. So we were able to announce £60 million of funding simply for farms to help them to recover. We're looking into moving forwards how we can change the funding formula so it takes into account much more rural communities, farming, also coastal communities, just up the coast from here. There are towns that are falling into the sea. We need to look at how we can protect communities like that as well, because they'd simply been neglected under the previous government. But as I say, we're increasing funding by over a quarter. I'm announcing that today. Looking to the future, we want to make the future, the formula much more wide-ranging, so we can protect rural, farming and coastal communities as well as everybody else.
And are you, I mean, you know, people just looking at the, you know, your remit, your job being Environment Secretary, and this Rosebank oil field in the North Sea, the new runway at Heathrow. I mean, very, very difficult times where it looks like there's splits within the government on this as to what way to proceed. Where would you stand on those subjects?
Well, I mean, the government's announced our position on air travel. We're consulting on what needs to happen over Rosebank. But if you're talking about the general picture here, which is the balance between growing the economy and protecting the environment, I'm convinced we can get to a win-win. So if you look at, we want to build 1.5 million homes during the lifetime of this Parliament. Developers of those homes will be asked to pay into a pot of money, a nature restoration fund, that will pay for large-scale improvements to nature across whole communities, so that whatever harm may be caused by that development will be more than compensated for by improvements to nature elsewhere. So we end up with the homes we need to address the housing crisis, but we also end up with nature in a better condition. So I'm looking for a win-win here, Eamonn. We don't need to pit economic growth and the homes people need to live in against protecting the environment. We can do both.
Well, good luck to you in trying to do both. I look forward to speaking to you again, Steve, and enjoy your day in Ipswich.
My pleasure as always, Eamonn. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now we're giving you not one but two chances to win in our late Great British giveaway. Have a go.
The Great British Giveaway is officially 1 year old, and we have a birthday treat for you. We're giving you not one, but two chances to win this month, with two prize bundles that include an incredible £10,000 in tax-free cash. But that's not all. You'll also get a brand new iPhone 16 and a £500 shopping voucher to spend at your favourite store. So why not be extra lucky this month? For a chance to win an iPhone, vouchers and £10,000 in cash, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB11 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 7th of March. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
We'll take a short break, looking ahead to Bev and Andrew's programme from 9:30, and they'll be previewing what they're doing right after this. Stay with us.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, Will, please bring us up to date. Or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
A woman of 53 has believed for 18 months she was in an online relationship with Brad Pitt.
I think we're seeing pictures. So these are the pictures that she received that made her believe that she was in this relationship with Brad Pitt.
And you'll see that some of it is in hospital because the scammer was claiming that he was suffering from cancer. This was playing very much on her emotion. So this is a divorcee who lived in Mauritius. She'd received a £700,000 divorce settlement, or £650,000 divorce settlement, I should say, and £700,000 has been taken from her through this scam.
Yeah.
As she was becoming, every time she became suspicious, the money was taken for payment of charges on gifts that she never received, and then hospital fees. There was lots of emotions being played into there. Now, as somebody, I'm a rom-com writer by trade, so I write romantic fiction. And one of the books I've written has actually been about somebody who did online dating, got herself into a whole heap of trouble. Not quite, she wasn't in a relationship with Brad Pitt, but she met somebody dodgy. So because I've written that book, I've met a lot of people who've come up to me and said, oh, it's happened to me.
It's scary in this digital age, isn't it?
They've lost $700,000, but somebody has tried it on. Somebody my question is, would a man go 18 months in a relationship online without seeing somebody and keep it going? Or is this feeding into this neediness of a particular demographic of a woman who that's better than anything else she got going on in her life, was what was being fed to her over the internet? I just
and then maybe a little bit of her knew, but she kind of just suppressed it because she
was hoping it was Brad Pitt.
Her daughter apparently for a year was saying, this can't be true, come on, think about it. But she just fell for it. But I just wonder, what's right, it's a very sad story. She's obviously now getting a lot of hate and ridicule as well.
Because she's been on French TV and she's had a huge amount of pushback from it.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Our poll of the day concerned this Chagos Island deal. Should Keir Starmer U-turn on his surrender of the Chagos Islands? And guess what way you have been voting so far? What way is it figured out?
Well, 98% of you think he should U-turn. Just 2% of you are in favour of the deal. Well, the final result will be announced later in Martin Daubney's show, so you can continue to get involved. You can scan the QR code on your screen now or go to gbnews.com/poll.
Let's get involved with Andrew and Bev on from 9:30. Andrew, do you think that that Chagos deal will go through in its form?
Well, I hope not, because it's a complete surrender. It's a complete giveaway, and they're doubling the price to give it back to we're not even giving it back to Mauritius. They never, ever owned it.
No?
It's completely... this is all about Labour wanting to sate their conscience over colonialism. It's what it's all about. It's ridiculous. And they say they've got to make difficult choices. Nothing difficult about this. This is £18 billion. It should stay here.
And we're going to be talking about difficult choices at the top of the show as well, about how much money is being spent just willy-nilly, it seems. Taxpayers' money being wasted and spent on things that if you ask the general public, do you want your tax money spending on this? I think they would just say no. Like, you know, a lot of the illegal immigrants, the ways that we're entertaining people in those hotels.
Circus training.
Circus skills training, PlayStations. You literally couldn't make it up. At a time when a lot of us are being told we're going to only have one bin collection a month.
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense.
And pensioners are freezing.
Yeah,
and we're going to be having a bit of a debate about this Luis Rubiales kiss, if you remember, when the Spanish women's team won that, was it the Euros? And in celebration, he kissed her on the lips. That case is going on at the moment in Spain. As
he could face 2.5 years in prison. Has the world gone mad?
He probably shouldn't go to prison.
I mean, I think...
Well, he definitely
I can see that it was unwelcome. Whatever, it depends what way you want to
But a criminal record for it?
What do you think, Bev?
I think that a woman wouldn't have done that to a male player.
True.
So if you ever want to know if something is chauvinistic, use that test. Would it apply if you
Very good, Bev.
Well, listen, I got to kiss you goodbye. Thank you very much.
See you soon.
Have a good show, guys. Thanks for watching.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, a very good morning to you. Welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. There will be some showers in the north today, but actually fine elsewhere and increasingly sunny skies for all of us during the next few days. We're starting off with bright blue skies across much of England and Wales, just some patchy cloud here and there. Bright as well in the north, but we do have some showers for northern England as well as parts of Scotland, especially towards the west and north of Scotland, along with a brisk breeze. Those showers will be falling as snow over the mountains, but they do ease later. And in between the showers, there will be some sunny spells. Temperatures of 6 or 7 in the north, 9 or 10 further south. Just some fair weather cloud building through the day. Otherwise, a beautiful end to the day for many of us. One of those crisp but bright winter's days, and more of them to come over the next couple of days. Plenty of sunshine, or at least clear skies, for eastern and southern Scotland as we go into the evening. Some patchy cloud there and a few more showers to go for the Highlands, but otherwise they are tending to fade away. Clear skies for Northern Ireland and extensively across England and Wales, and of course with light winds and clear skies overnight. Temperatures will fall away quickly. A widespread frost forming up and down the country, although I think the northern half of Scotland tending to stay too breezy for a widespread frost. Nevertheless, it's dry and it's clear for the vast majority, so temperatures dipping to -1 Celsius in towns and cities and a few degrees below that in sheltered parts. A cold start to the day on Thursday then, but plenty of sunshine first thing. A few freezing fog patches here and there. They may persist into the afternoon, but they'll be very localised. For the vast majority, it's simply a sunny day. It's going to continue to feel cold, but with light winds, in the sunshine, pleasant enough. Temperatures reaching 7 or 8 Celsius. Continuing to be breezy in the far north, but dry and bright nevertheless.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In Perth and Kinross, the A989 remains closed along Tay Street in Perth because of flooding. The M6 in Lancashire is closed northbound between junctions 32 and 33, from the M55 to the A6 south of Lancaster after an accident. There are queues from junction 31 at Sarms, replaced to on the M65, and routes through Preston as you divert